Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, National Treasure Map, Only I Can See the Hints. Chapter 41. Everyone's duty is to protect their homeland and country and protect the common people. In his eyes, even if Su Yu is also a night watchman and a warrior rank 2, he is still the object of his protection. Because Su Yu is too young. If there is a chance to live, it must be left to young people. As for him, he actually didn't want to die, but if someone had to die, he would rather die by himself. Boom! Several zombies surrounded him and knocked his figure upside down. The next moment, these zombies swarmed up, trying to bite it and assimilate it into new zombies. But at this time, Su Yu appeared and stood in front of the night watchman who was knocked out. You just joined the night watch. You are too weak. Why don't you run away quickly? The night watchman said anxiously, but soon, his eyes widened and his expression showed disbelief. Split the ground. Su Yu stamped his feet, and the ground quickly cracked, terrifying cracks spread out, and in an instant, they appeared at the feet of the zombies. Their figures immediately became unstable and fell in all directions. Open the mountain. Su Yu's figure flew out and appeared in front of zombies one after another, slashing with his knife. Without a knife, I can only use my palm instead of a knife. Boom, boom, boom. Each time, a zombie fell to the ground, its head split open, obviously too dead to die. Maybe in less than 5 seconds, all the zombies fell to the ground, and they were all killed. Are you a warrior rank 2? The injured night watchman climbed up with an unbelievable look on his face, feeling that this scene was incredible. He still remembered that Su Yu had only joined the night watch a few days ago, and his cultivation level was only warrior rank 2. But now it seems that this is not warrior rank 2. At least they are all warrior 7 rank 8. Fighter rank 2. I'm not that anymore, Su Yu said with a chuckle. So awesome. At this moment, the night watchman looked at Su Yu and felt that Su Yu was extremely powerful, and his whole body exuded a brilliance like an expert. Okay, I'm going to support the nearby call for help. Please handle it here, Su Yu said quickly. There are also some people who were bitten. They are already dead, but soon, they will become new zombies. However, the strength is limited, even an ordinary night watchman can easily solve it. Boom! Su Yu pressed hard on the ground, and his figure rushed out like a cheetah. Outside the night watch branch, Lindsay was fighting a monster. Suddenly, her night watch vibrated, and she took advantage of the moment of defense to glance down. Su Yu solved it so quickly. Lindsay was startled for a moment, then thought about it. Su Yu is already the king of war. It's not a big problem to solve ordinary dangers. In that case, let's assign some more tasks to Su Yu. Thinking of this, Lindsay quickly clicked on her watch. Then, he fought the monster again. At the same time, Su Yu's night watchman's watch vibrated, and the time disappeared, replaced by a map. The arrow above represents oneself, and there are many red exclamation marks around it, which means that someone is asking for help and requesting support. So much. Su Yu looked down and saw more than a dozen red exclamation marks within 3 kilometers. There are so many within 3 kilometers, so I don't know how many there are in the entire Tianhe city. Su Yu didn't believe it if no one was causing trouble. What a coincidence. Suddenly, Su Yu stopped and looked forward. A space suddenly appeared, and a figure comparable to a mountain walked out. At this time, there are still people digging for treasure maps. Moreover, such a terrifying monster was also dug up. The monster walks upright, has eyes as big as those of its age, and one hand is as big as a car. His body exuded a horrible fishy smell, as if he hadn't taken a bath for countless years. Haha, after countless years, I finally came out. Today, I will be a cannibal for 300 people. As soon as the mountain-like monster walked out of the space, it immediately picked up the person who had just released him and stuffed it into his mouth, chewing continuously. Blood flowed down the corner of his mouth. It's delicious, it's really delicious, it's still the same taste as in my memory. The monster murmured, very happy. Su Yu looked at this scene and felt his whole body trembling. Shivering. There are actually man-eating monsters in this world. Here comes someone. Wait with a guillotine. Su Yu knew that the opponent was very strong and could not be defeated by himself, so he shouted loudly. The sound rang out, like a loud bell, rumbling. In an instant, the dog-headed guillotine flew out and turned into a huge guillotine, crossing the sky. 4 figures appeared, 2 of them flew towards the monster. Roll! The monster was furious, and the terrifying power was released like an overwhelming force. A building collapsed directly, but soon, it was forcibly suppressed by 2 illusory figures, and then dragged to the dog-headed guillotine. Open the guillotine. Su Yu's voice sounded like a bell. Poof! The guillotine fell. The blood is overwhelming. A monster as big as a mountain, no matter how powerful it is, can only be beheaded if caught with a guillotine. Boom! The huge corpse fell to the ground, twitched twice, and then stopped moving. Su Yu panted slightly and seemed very tired. After resting for a few seconds, Su Yu continued to the next place to seek help. Before they arrived, Su Yu saw people running toward him in panic. There was even a night watchman leading the way for them in front of them. There was a car blocking the road along the way, and the night watchman immediately stepped forward and pushed the car aside. Seeing Su Yu, the night watchman was stunned for a moment, and quickly shouted, "Run quickly, someone dug a lake, and there is a flood coming from behind." Su Yu raised his eyes and saw that there was really water flooding in front of him. Not to mention the entire ground was flooded, even the 3rd floor was flooded. This lake is not that big, and even the water is not that big. If no one takes care of it, then not only the entire Tianhe city will be flooded, but at least countless casualties will be caused. But, how to solve it? Faced with such a disaster, Su Yu was helpless for a moment. Let's treat a dead horse as a living horse doctor. Su Yu's heart moved, and the Xuanwang Yan that had been in the inner world was slightly shaken. When he was about to fly out, he suddenly saw that all the water surged up and disappeared into the dark clouds in the sky. "Huh, you are really a dark cloud with ideas." Su Yu's expression was naturally happy when he saw this scene. Using Xuanwang Yan, he was not sure that he could solve the problem. Now, there are dark clouds that have sucked away all the water, which is naturally the best. In just 3 to 5 seconds, all the water dug out of the lake merged into the dark clouds. Grass, what are you going to do? Suddenly, Su Yu turned slightly pale with fright, and retreated quickly. However, Su Yu's speed was still a little too slow, and the dark clouds in the sky quickly shrank and then rushed into his body. The inner world is like a real world. Xuanwang Yan turned into fire and took root in the inner world, becoming one of the forces controlled by Su Yu. But now, a dark cloud appeared, floating in the sky, and rain poured down, threatening to extinguish the fire that Xuanwang Yan had transformed. There are even thunder and lightning, wandering in this world. Poof! Su Yu's face turned pale, a mouthful of blood spurted out, and he cursed, "What are you going to do? This dark cloud has its own thoughts. Now, it suddenly penetrates into my inner world, and it is trying to cause trouble. Whether it can extinguish fires or not, let's not talk about it for the moment. If this continues, Su Yu feels that he may be killed by it first." In an instant, Su Yu's heart moved, and in the inner world, blood-stained fragments of white clothes floated, turning into the white-clothed Guanyin. Wearing white clothes, holding a jade purification bottle in his left hand, and making a wish seal with his right hand, he is one of the 33 incarnations of Guanyin. The dark clouds trembled slightly, as if they realized something, and turned into a black light, trying to escape from Su Yu's inner world. But as soon as it moved, Guanyin in white suddenly took action. The jade purification bottle flew out across the sky, and a terrifying suction force came out. Wu Yun's figure immediately lost control, and after struggling twice, it was sucked into the jade purifying bottle. At this time, Su Yu finally breathed a sigh of relief and felt comfortable all over. But in the blink of an eye, Guanyin in white disappeared, and the dark clouds reappeared in the inner world. Grass. These days, Guanyin is no longer reliable. Su Yu cursed secretly, and when he was about to activate the fragments of the Rui golden cudgel, he was suddenly startled. For some reason, he felt as if he had established some kind of connection with dark clouds. It seems that he can move the dark clouds like a guillotine. Right now, the dark clouds still have a mind of their own and it's pouring rain. Stop! Su Yu's heart moved. Suddenly, the rain all over the sky disappeared, and there was no longer a drop of rain falling. Down, the dark clouds stirred up, and there was a feeling of joy, and it started to rain heavily. Stop! The heavy rain stopped. Receive. Suddenly, in the inner world, the rain on the ground surged upwards, and all returned to the dark clouds. At the same time, Wu Yun conveyed a very dissatisfied mood to Su Yu. It was a little unhappy and wanted to rain. But Su Yu is so bad, he actually doesn't let it rain. Bad guy. Is this still a dark cloud? It feels like a living person. Su Yu looked at the dark cloud and couldn't help but sigh. Fortunately, it was Guanyin in white who took action, otherwise, Su Yu knew that he would have died early. The risk of digging for treasure maps is too great. If you don't die directly, you will die indirectly. Fortunately, I am not simple either. I have many treasures to protect me. Su Yu felt a little lucky. Hey, why is the water gone? The people who were running away suddenly found out in surprise. The night watchman who was clearing the way ahead looked shocked when he saw this scene. Take them to a safe area quickly. Su Yu came to the night watchman and said quickly. You come with me too. You are still a child, the night watchman in front of him advised. I'm also a night watchman. Su Yu grinned, and his figure quickly moved away. He's so young, could it be Su Yu who just came in? Looking at Su Yu's back, he came back to his senses. You are so young. Everyone, follow me. Don't leave the team. Also, don't dig for the treasure map. It's too dangerous now. He immediately organized people to go to a safe place. Su Yu followed the markings on the night watchman's watch and quickly went to the places where calls for help were issued one after another. There were countless people digging for the treasure map at the same time, and many dangers were uncovered. But wherever Su Yu went, he could easily solve it. Even if he encounters a monster at the peak of the King of War, Su Yu can summon a dog-headed guillotine to behead it. However, Su Yu became more and more anxious. Tianhe City is even more chaotic. Initially, there were hundreds of calls for help from the Night's Watch branches. But now, there are more than 300 places asking for help. There are so many places that there is no support at all. It is not that the number of night watchmen is not enough, but that there are too few strong men at the War King level. No, if this continues, the entire Tianhe City may become the next city to be lost in history. Su Yu's heart became colder and heavier. The minister and others must be freed up to solve the next crisis. Thinking of this, Su Yu galloped out. Lin Zi was fighting a bloody battle with a monster. The opponent was wearing heavy armor and all his vital points were protected. Even if Lin Zi had unparalleled combat power, it would be difficult to break through his defense. Sister Lin, leave it to me and I'll solve it. Su Yu rushed over and spoke quickly. Lin Zi was stunned for a moment, and then she came to her senses, nodded, and quickly retreated. Here comes someone. Wait with a dog-headed guillotine. Su Yu's voice was as loud as a bell. Suddenly, a dog-headed guillotine emerged across the sky. 4 figures walked out, 2 of which went straight towards the monster. Roar! The monster wears heavy armor and looks down upon the world, and is invincible. But the next moment, it let out a horrified howl, which was forcibly suppressed by 2 of the figures, and then dragged towards the dog-headed guillotine. Open the guillotine. Su Yu's voice echoed in all directions. The guillotine fell, and blood dyed the sky red. For a moment, many monsters from all directions saw this scene, and strong fear flashed in their eyes. On the other side, Lei Gang held his hammer in front of him, blocking the fierce attack of a monster. The other party is like a pangolin, but there are some differences. The skin is rough and the flesh is thick, and the body is covered with scales. Each scale is born with mysterious lines, like divine writings, and possesses incredible terrifying power. Poof! Thor puts a pair of underwear on his head, which can increase his strength by 20%, but for now, he still can't beat the opponent. At this moment, Su Yu came to kill him. Captain Lei, retreat, I'll deal with this monster. Su Yu said. Here comes someone. I'll serve you with a guillotine. Su Yu said in a deep voice, his voice echoing throughout Tianhe City. Boom! The dog-head guillotine flew out. Soon, the monster that even Lei Gang couldn't deal with was dragged by 2 figures to the head of the dog. Open the guillotine. Su Yu's voice was as loud as a bell, and his face was cold and devoid of any emotion. Poof! An invincible monster in the King of War realm was beheaded in an instant. Even if it has rough skin and thick flesh, even if it is covered in scales and each scale has natural lines, it still cannot escape the guillotine of a dog-headed guillotine. This is the dog-headed guillotine. Su Yu, Thank you, Lei Gang said while gasping for air. If it weren't for Su Yu, he might have died here today. He is not afraid of death, but he doesn't want to die like this. If given a choice, he hopes to die in action in the future. It's so frustrating to die now. Captain Lei, you're welcome. We are all night watchmen, and we should treat each other. Before Su Yu could finish his words, his expression suddenly changed drastically, and he suddenly raised his head and looked at the sky. The sky split. A giant hand that covered the sky stretched out from nowhere, holding a high-level treasure map in its palm. The light flashed on it, and the treasure map was used instantly. The next moment, a space emerged, and a monster with an aura that surpassed the King of War walked out of the space. Grass. The monster above the King of War. Lei Gang cursed angrily. Someone used a high-level treasure map to release monsters above the King of War. This time, Tianhe City will be gone, and we will die here too. Someone is digging for a treasure map at this time, and the one they dug is a high-level treasure map. There is no doubt that they are causing trouble. What even made Su Yu find it ridiculous was that the person digging up the treasure map might have known what they would dig up. This is terrible. Beside him, Lei Gang was furious, but more importantly, he was deeply helpless. Someone has released a monster above the King of War. How can we fight? Lei Gang was helpless, even desperate. Outside Tianhe City, there are already 2 monsters that are above the King of War. Because they are afraid, they dare not do anything to Tianhe City. But this newly dug monster doesn't know anything, it doesn't even care about anything, or it is very hostile to humans. How brave. In the distance, Li Xiao was fighting. When he suddenly saw this scene, he said angrily, "Who dares to cause trouble in Tianhe City? Are you not afraid that if you are found out, your entire clan will be killed?" Quote. Obviously, this is man-made. Even this disaster was caused by man-made things from beginning to end. However, no one responded at all. Only a monster with an aura that surpassed the King of War walked out of the emerging space and continued to cause killings. Su Yu looked up, his eyes shrinking again and again. The monster seemed to be as tall as a 30-story building, with horns on its head, and its eyes were blood red, full of hatred. He also had a nose ring on his nose. In his hand, he held a fork that was about 100 meters long. The fork exuded supreme power, as if it had killed powerful enemies countless years ago, and it was even stained with the blood of powerful enemies. Boom! Suddenly, his body burned, and his entire figure was bathed in fire. It is like crawling out of hell with hellfire, trying to destroy the world. The ground suddenly cracked, and the rolling lava began to spurt outward like a fountain. Those who couldn't dodge were immediately submerged by the magma. Before they died, they didn't even have time to scream. Chiliu. Suddenly, it opened its mouth, and its tongue poked out like lightning. In an instant, hundreds of people were sucked into its mouth, and then there was a clicking sound, the flesh and blood were blurred, and blood flowed from the corners of its mouth. It's actually eating people. This is a monster that feeds on humans. In the past 3 years, too many monsters have been dug up by people, but as long as they are human-eating monsters, they will definitely die even if they only eat them once. In the face of this kind of monster, Daxia's official attitude is zero tolerance and will kill anyone encountered. The reason why the 2 monsters outside Tianhe City are still alive has a lot to do with the fact that they don't eat humans. Otherwise, they would have died long ago. Suddenly, the giant hand that covered the sky stretched out again, holding another treasure map in its palm. The treasure map fell and was used by it, and another space emerged. In the space, a volcano appeared. The giant hand that covered the sky reached into the space and slapped the volcano hard. Space shattered and a volcano descended on Tianhe City. Endless lava erupted from the volcano, covering the entire city. If no one stops it, then today, Tianhe City will become history. The tens of millions of people in Tianhe City will also become a series of numbers. This is an extremely terrible thing. It is no exaggeration to say that today is the end of Tianhe City. Do you really think that I, the night watchman, am just a decoration? Suddenly, the sky shattered, and a figure, dressed in military uniform, punched out. The giant hand covering the sky shattered, and a figure wearing a mask was punched out. General Bai from East District 1, why are you here? The man's expression suddenly changed. Didn't you enter Grotto Heaven? Hey, the information is quite good. So, there are some of your people in our night watch. General Bai was wearing a military uniform, calm, and said calmly, when I turn back, I have to check carefully. If there are any of you, I will kill those who want to kill you, and I will send their heads to you. By the way, there's also you. Since I'm here, you should know that you can't leave alive today. When I kill you, I will kill your whole clan again. General Bai is very murderous, and every word he speaks is about killing people. Then try it. The man wore a mask. Although he was afraid of General Bai, he was not afraid. He said, I want to leave. You, General Bai of East District 1, can't stop me. Don't think that I didn't realize that you are here just for the incarnation of the gods. Boom. General Bai punched boldly and beat the opponent back steadily. He said, I came with the incarnation of the divine culture, and you seem to have come with the incarnation of the divine culture. It is not difficult to keep you. Boom. The two of them started fighting instantly, and the fight was so dark that the sun and the moon lost all light. In the East District, who is General Bai? Su Yu asked next to Lei Gang. He really doesn't know this. Before Lei Gang could speak, Lindsay had already walked over and took the initiative to say for Su Yu, General Bai is not from our era. He was dug out by others. After a pause, Lindsay said again, speaking of General Bai, you may not know, but if we talk about Wu Anjin, you should know who he is. Wu Anjin, Bai Qi. Su Yu thought for a moment and couldn't help but speak. Yes, he is Wuan Lord Bai Qi. Lindsay obviously looked much more relaxed, and she said, today, General Bai is here, so we are saved. Even so, we are still under a lot of pressure. I just don't know if the minister has any backup plans. If General Bai is alone, it will still be very dangerous. Today, the casualties in Tianhe City will be terrible. When Su Yu heard this, he couldn't help but look solemn. General Bai from East District 1 is fighting the man behind the scenes. But it was difficult to kill it in a short period of time. Now, a 30-story monster was killing people, and a volcano was erupting. If this continues, even if General Bai can save Tianhe City will be in ruins. Is it possible that, just a few days after my transmigration, I will lose my hometown and become a wanderer? Su Yu looked at this scene and felt extremely uncomfortable. Regardless of whether it was the previous life or this life, Tianhe City was his hometown. Suddenly, Su Yu's heart moved, and the dark clouds in the inner world immediately turned into black light, rushed out in an instant, and then soared up and appeared in the sky. Tisk! A thunderous explosion. The next moment, endless rain poured down. In the crater, endless magma spewed out, but before they could fall, they were covered by rain and then continued to cool. The 30-story monster was bathed in flames, making it difficult for even the War King to get close. But at this time, rain fell on him, and visible to the naked eye, the flames on his body quickly extinguished. Roar! The monster looked up to the sky and roared, and its 100-meter-long fork directly pierced the dark clouds. However, the distance is too far, and it pokes a loneliness. But Su Yu's eyes suddenly shrank, and he saw that the monster rose into the sky and rushed into the sky. Boom! There was lightning and thunder, and the sky was thundering. Dark clouds were rolling over the city, but there was a 30-story tall monster stirring up wind and rain in the dark clouds. Fortunately, it went into the clouds, which allowed countless people on the ground to survive. But also because of its action, the dark clouds no longer have the power to rain. The volcano continues to erupt. Moreover, in addition to 30-story monsters and volcanoes, there are many dangers of being dug out. These dangers have filled many places in Tianhe City, destroying everything. Countless people died as a result. With his underwear on his head, Lei Gang quickly moved away and started fighting with a humanoid creature with wings. Su Yu, stop standing and act quickly. Lin Zi left a message, wore purple armor, held a purple spear, and quickly killed a colorful butterfly. The butterfly spread its wings and reached a distance of 30 meters, which was very terrifying. It just flapped its wings, and countless people were blown away. It was just a wing that sliced across a building, splitting it in two. The cut was smooth and shocking. On the other side, Zhang Tian was holding a knife, and the light of the knife reflected the sky and the earth, and he was attacking a humanoid creature with a blue body. In the distance, a space emerged. Captain Zheng was bathed in raging flames and was suppressing the riots of countless tall tree people in Grotto Heaven. Back then, someone used a treasure map to dig up a Grotto Heaven. The entire Grotto Heaven is full of lush trees. They have their own way, turn into tree people, and cause chaos in Tianhe City. Later, the night watchman killed them and returned to Grotto Heaven, and then Captain Zheng led the guards. Now, they sensed the situation outside and immediately formed a team to fight out. Many places have become very dangerous and very difficult for people to deal with. It can even be said that even the night watchmen cannot protect themselves now. This can't go on like this. Even if we can save some people, more people will die. There has to be a better way. Su Yu couldn't help but feel anxious. Suddenly, Su Yu seemed to have thought of something, and his heart moved, and fragments of the Rui golden cudgel appeared in his palm. The Rui golden cudgel is a Taoist soldier. Su Yu didn't know what Tao soldiers were, but if they could be named with the word Tao, they would know how powerful and terrifying the soldiers were. With this fragment, Su Yu could only exert 1/1000th of its power. The last time Su Yu used it, he killed a dragon with one blow. Killing the War King is not a big problem. But above the King of War, Su Yu was not sure. But Su Yu knew that if he wanted to change today's situation, there was only one way. That is, to get General Bai in the East District out of the battle. Right now, General Bai and the mysterious man are still fighting. It seems that General Bai will win sooner or later, but the longer time goes by, the greater the losses will be to Tianhe City. Therefore, Su Yu thought of using the fragments of the Rui golden cudgel to kill the mysterious man. Even if he cannot kill the mysterious man, he can still create an opportunity for General Bai. As for the sequelae of using the Rui golden cudgel fragments, how could Su Yu still be in the mood to think about these at this time? Boom! Su Yu inspired the power contained in the fragments of the Rui golden cudgel. In an instant, the world shook violently, and a golden stick shot out across the sky and hit the mysterious man hard. At this moment, the world was silent. Everyone looked up at the golden stick in shock. It is engraved with 5 large gilt characters, Rui golden cudgel. Even the 30-story monsters that were killing randomly in the clouds couldn't help but look at the Rui golden cudgel at this moment. Its eyes shrank and its whole body trembled, as if it had thought of something terrible. General Bai was fighting with the mysterious man, and at this moment, he also looked over. Rui golden cudgel. General Bai was shocked. Grass. The mysterious man felt that he was locked, his pupils were shaking, all the power in his body was released, and he immediately turned around and ran away. The speed is astonishing. Where to go? After General Bai saw it, he immediately realized that the opportunity had come and quickly chased after him. However, the mysterious man tried his best, but he was not, so there was a slight difference in speed. Suddenly, General Bai stopped and looked at the mysterious man in shock, his expression horrified. The Rui golden cudgel hit the mysterious man hard. His figure shattered in an instant, turning into a divine word, kill. Then, the word, kill, also shattered, turning into pure power and scattered in all directions. He is really a cult fool. General Bai came to his senses and couldn't help but cursed. It's just that what came was just a divine incarnation, and now that it's broken again, it's difficult to determine its true identity. General Bai was a little disappointed, but now, this may be the best ending. He is also a divine incarnation, and his strength is far inferior to that of his original self. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been unresolved until now. Tianhe City, it's really Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I don't know who dug up the Rui golden cudgel. Even the Emperor of War can be beaten to death with one stick. General Bai turned his head and looked around, but failed to find Su Yu immediately. An existence that can kill the War Emperor in an instant should not stay in Tianhe City. The War Emperor is the existence above the War King. Being able to name a realm after Emperor shows how terrifying and powerful the Battle Emperor realm is. Suddenly, the 30-story monster that was fighting against the dark clouds pierced the dark clouds with its fork and fled into the distance. It's scared. If the Rui golden cudgel were knocked down again, it would die. General Bai raised his eyes, glanced lightly, and punched out. In an instant, a total of 13 huge fists fell from the sky. The humanoid creature that was fighting with Lei Gang was instantly blown away. The colorful butterfly that was fighting with Lindsay was instantly smashed to death on the ground. The beautiful humanoid creature that was fighting Zhang Tian was also beaten to pieces. In a grotto heaven, Captain Zhang was forcibly suppressing the endless tall tree people. At this time, a fist rushed in very arrogantly, past Captain Zhang, and beat into pieces a tree person that was infinitely approaching the realm of the War Emperor. When the remaining tree people saw this scene, they all trembled with fear and retreated quickly. When Su Yu saw this scene, he couldn't help laughing even though he felt that the power in his body was exhausted. This stick is worth it. Once General Bai leaves the battle, the situation will immediately change. Sure enough, even if I am the king of war now, I can still only activate the fragments of the Ruyi golden cudgel once. Su Yu sighed. A real man for a second. I'm too weak now and I have to get out of here. I must find a way to regain my strength, otherwise, if I encounter danger, I will be dead. Su Yu turned around and ran away. Ride a shared bicycle and go fast. I still have a treasure map with me, let's see if I can dig out something. Su Yu thought. But soon, Su Yu had to stop. Ahead, 3 zombies blocked the way. After taking a closer look, Su Yu's expression changed horribly. The person blocking his way turned out to be the 3-headed zombie king. They are all existences comparable to the king of war. Last time someone dug up the treasure map and released countless zombies. He used the hair of the roaring sky dog to turn the tide, but some zombies still escaped. Among them, there are 3 zombie kings. Now, they're out for revenge. Before this, Su Yu was not afraid of them, but now that he was exhausted, how could he still have the strength to deal with them? Facing Su Yu, the 3 zombie kings were not in a hurry at all, they came slowly. It was precisely because he came slowly that he put more pressure on Su Yu. They are intentional. If you kill someone in a very short time, then the person will not feel much fear even if it is fear. Because he is already dead. But if the time is extended and the person is faced with the approaching death, the fear will be infinitely magnified, and even the heart will collapse. They are full of hatred for Su Yu. This hatred is irreconcilable and has penetrated into their bones. They wanted to cut Su Yu into 8 pieces, smash his bones and spread ashes, and divide his body into 5 pieces. If it hadn't been for Su Yu who dug up the dog hair dropped by the roaring sky dog, how could their entire clan have been wiped out? It can be said that it was because of Su Yu that their clan was almost wiped out. Of course, it is almost the same as genocide now, because there are only 3 zombie kings left. Seeing the 3 zombie kings, Su Yu's expression changed horribly, but he didn't panic at all. Without any hesitation, he lifted the shared bicycle and smashed it over. Taking advantage of this moment, Su Yu immediately turned around and ran away. The power in his body is exhausted, but his physical fitness is still far beyond that of ordinary people. Otherwise, why should he be called the king of war? However, no matter how Su Yu escaped, the 3 zombie kings followed Su Yu unhurriedly. The distance between them never changes. You are so brave. Aren't you afraid that my strong men from the Night Watch will come and kill you? Su Yu stopped suddenly, looked at the 3 zombie kings, and shouted sternly. Funny, Tianhe City is in chaos, and the Night Watchman has too much time to take care of himself. How can he still have time to save you? Just wait to die. You have to pay with your life today for killing so many of our clansmen. When you die, we will still be lurking in Tianhe City and turn the entire Tianhe City people into our clansmen. The 3 zombie kings spoke one after another, putting a lot of pressure on Su Yu. These 3 zombie kings were originally dressed in strange clothes. At first glance, they didn't look like they were from Blue Star. But now, they are wearing normal people's clothes. If you don't look carefully, you can't tell that they are zombies. Moreover, they also possess the strength of the King of War, hidden in Tianhe City, which is a time bomb. Oh, by the way, not only the people in Tianhe City will become my tribe. Even you will become our tribe. One of the zombie kings said with a sinister smile. At that time, you are already dead, but another consciousness will awaken in your body, and that will be our clansman. At that time, you will become the pioneer of our clan and haunt your compatriots. Until one day, this world will completely become our clan's territory. It kept thinking, and the other 2 zombie kings also showed the same expression. It was obvious that they thought so too. However, Su Yu was covered in cold sweat. If that were the case, that would be terrible. The zombies really deserve to die. They turn others into their own clansmen, and they belong to a race that gets stronger as they fight. If that's the case, then you all should die. Su Yu did not run away again, but faced the three-headed zombie king. Boom. In the inner world, the divine text of the word, war, vibrated, and terrifying power flowed out. The terrifying fighting spirit was vented. At this moment, Su Yu gave people the feeling of daring to fight against the sky. Ha! The three-headed zombie king couldn't help but change his expression. Why do you still have strength? Are you stupid? Su Yu said and sneered. Just now, there were so many people nearby and I was afraid of hurting them. Do you really think I'm afraid of you? I've long guessed that you might be causing trouble. Even if you weren't causing trouble, you would probably come to kill me at this time. How can I not have any defenses? The next moment, Su Yu used his own power to activate the blood-stained fragments of white clothes. Boom! The heaven and earth shook, and Guanyin in white emerged. He held a jade purification bottle in his left hand and made a wish seal with his right hand. Suddenly, the wish seal disappeared. She raised her right hand, stretched out a finger, and pressed down gently. The expressions of the three zombie kings changed dramatically, and they immediately attacked Su Yu. However, before they could get closer, he felt as if his whole body was stuck in a quagmire, making it difficult to move. At this moment, the jade fingers of Guanyin in white descended from the sky and pressed down on them. The three-headed zombie king tried its best to resist, but it was Guanyin in white. Although it is not the real Guanyin in white, but a blood-stained piece of white Guanyin, there is Dao rhyme of Guanyin in white on it, and even the blood may be that of Guanyin in white. The power it possesses cannot be resisted by the three ant-like zombie kings. The ground cracked and continued to sink. The three zombie kings fell into the deep pit, and the Tianling cap shattered. Boom, boom, boom. Suddenly, the three-headed zombie king exploded into a pile of minced meat. Su Yu stepped forward, glanced at it casually, and couldn't help but want to vomit. It's too awful. At this time, Guanyin in white turned around and looked at Su Yu kindly. Her lips moved slightly, but no sound came out. Before disappearing, she nodded towards Su Yu with a smile. What does she mean? Su Yu felt cold. Guanyin in white smiled and nodded at me. Does she know me? It's ridiculous. I'm just a mortal. How do I know Guanyin in white? Su Yu shook his head, annihilating the unrealistic thoughts in his mind. Suddenly, Su Yu felt something. He looked up and saw a sharp arrow streaking across the sky, shooting straight at General Bai. The aura on the sharp arrow was like an abyss or an ocean, very terrifying. Grass. Someone attacked General Bai secretly, and he is a person above the King of War. General Bai suddenly turned his head and was about to avoid it, but he looked back and saw countless citizens of Tianhe City behind him. If he had avoided it, countless citizens behind him would have been killed and injured. At that moment, the figure he was about to avoid steadied, and raised his right hand to directly catch the incoming sharp arrow. He was caught, but his figure became extremely dim. Vaguely, General Bai's figure seemed to be unable to maintain itself, as if he was about to be knocked back to his original form and return to his divine state. Fortunately, General Bai is General Bai. Even if it is just the incarnation of the god, it is still powerful and boundless, and it is still stable in the end. Boom! General Bai punched out, striking a void. A figure with a completely blurred face suddenly fell out, and he said with some surprise, General Bai is really powerful, he is not dead, and he still has the power to force me out. However, how much strength do you still have now? How much strength will you lose if your divine incarnation is destroyed today? Then try it and see if you can destroy this divine incarnation of mine. General Bai stepped out in one step and appeared in front of him in an instant. The two immediately started fighting. Su Yu's scalp was numb when he saw it. Now, there is another being who is above the King of War. Can Tianhe City not be able to escape this disaster today? No, I'm going to dig for the treasure map. Su Yu cheered up and realized that there was only one way to save Tianhe City. There is no other way. The only one who came to support from the East District was General Bai, and the only one who came was the incarnation of Shen Wen. If there were still people coming to support, they would not see Tianhe City become what it is now. Or, they're still on the way. However, Su Yu couldn't wait any longer. Moreover, the power in Su Yu's body is almost exhausted now. Just killing the 3 zombie kings was basically the last bit of strength. Now, even if I try to kill the enemy, I can't kill anything. The only way to save Tianhe City from dire straits is to dig for treasure maps. Only a treasure map can bring miracles. Others cannot dig at will for fear of digging up more and more terrifying dangers. However, Su Yu is different. He can see the prompts and ensure that the things he digs out are 100% safe. Su Yu found another bicycle, got on it, and rushed to his destination quickly. Soon, we arrived at our destination. Here, it is a mess, and there are corpses on the ground. It is too horrible to see. Su Yu forced himself to hold back the murderous intention in his heart and looked intently. In the past, there was a little kid who loved to eat animal milk and hid a jar of animal milk here. Drinking it will restore all your strength. Golden writing emerged. Animal milk. Su Yu was stunned for a moment, and then immediately used the treasure map. A space emerged with a jar inside. Su Yu stretched out his hand, and the jar flew out and fell into his palm. It smells so good. Su Yu opened the jar, raised his neck, and drank. Animal milk enters the body. Su Yu suddenly felt his blood boiling all over his body and became extremely hot. The beast's milk contains a kind of violent power, which pours into the inner world and is integrated into the divine text with the word, war. I recovered. I can still fight now. However, there are too many monsters in Tianhe City. Even if there is one more person, I can't kill them. I still have to continue digging for treasure maps. Only treasure maps can solve today's crisis. Su Yu dropped his bicycle and ran away. At this time, his strength has been restored, and his speed is countless times faster than that of a bicycle. Boom! Suddenly, there was a violent shock somewhere far away. A huge space emerged. Even from an endless distance, Su Yu saw it, and a bone dragon flew out. In his eyes, the green will-o'-the-wisps were dancing, and the aura of the undead was very strong all over his body. This is an existence that is infinitely approaching the War King. Moreover, because its whole body is made of bones, ordinary attacks basically have no great effect on it. It is even no exaggeration to say that all dragons are invincible in the same realm, whether they are alive or dead. For example, 2 days ago, someone dug up a dragon. Even the masters of the Night Watch attacked it, but they were unable to kill it. This is the dragon. Crazy, crazy, who the hell dug up another bone dragon? Su Yu couldn't help but curse. Su Yu, where are you? Suddenly, the Night Watchman's watch vibrated slightly, and Lindsay's voice sounded. She said, "Where did you go?" Someone dug up a bone dragon. I'm afraid we won't be able to deal with it. The minister was it's been contained. General Bai has been contained, now it's up to you. After a pause, Lindsay said again, by the way, do you still have the strength now? You have just joined the War King for the first time. If you can still fight, give it a guillotine with a dog's head. If you don't have the strength anymore, don't worry about it. You protect yourself first. I'll do it. Su Yu responded. If he killed the bone dragon, he might get 1 or 2 more treasure maps, which would be a real profit. Su Yu's heart moved, and when he was about to summon the dog-headed guillotine and guillotine the bone dragon, a sudden change occurred. Woof! A dog barking suddenly spread throughout Tianhe City, resounding throughout the world. The next moment, the sky suddenly darkened, and a bloody mouth fell from the sky and bit it down in one bite. Click! The bone dragon was bitten by the bloody mouth, making a cracking sound, and the bones were chewed to pieces. In his eyes, the green will-o'-the-wisp flew out, but as soon as it flew out, a terrifying suction force came out. No, do not want. The bone dragon begged for mercy, his voice filled with endless fear. But soon, the sound stopped suddenly. The sky returned to normal, and everyone could only see a dark cloud, and there was no more bloody mouth. In the Night Watchman's family building, the big black dog lay limp on the ground, covered in cold sweat. If you pretend too much, your strength will be gone. The big black dog lay on the ground, its ears drooped, looking very tired. In its mouth, a bone dragon that had been shrunk countless times had lost the breath of life. It smells so good. If you can't deal with a living dragon, you can't deal with a dead bone dragon. The dragon didn't let me eat it last time. Today, I must eat it to my heart's content. The big black dog began to chew on the bones, and with each bite, some of its strength returned. Grass. What the hell is that bloody mouth? Who took action? Before Su Yu could take action, he saw the bone dragon being swallowed. Forget it, I don't want to think about it anymore. I have a headache. No matter who did it, it's a good thing. At this time, there are still people digging for treasure maps, which means that there are still people up to something. What's more important is that Tianhe City is already in such chaos. If someone stirs up trouble, more terror will inevitably be discovered. If this continues, Tianhe City may really be destroyed. Su Yu shook his head and continued on his way to his destination. There are countless monsters along the way. When some monsters saw Su Yu, they immediately rushed up. But they were all taken care of by Su Yu. Even if Su Yu is new to the War King, with the dog-headed guillotine, he is still invincible among the War Kings. Finally, Su Yu finally arrived at his destination after overcoming obstacles all the way. This is a tall building. But now, the high-rise building has collapsed, and corpses are everywhere nearby. There were even many corpses under the collapsed tall buildings. Su Yu only sensed it briefly and found that there was no one alive under the tall building. All dead. A strong man strikes and a tall building collapses. How can there be any survivors? Su Yu stood on the ruins of the collapsed high-rise building, took out the treasure map, and looked at it intently. An old Taoist with a deformed body is sleeping here. He is a little crazy and wants to become an immortal. Now he has no ill intentions towards the vast majority of human beings. Golden writing emerged. Su Yu frowned, feeling a little tangled in his heart. This old man has no ill intentions towards the vast majority of human beings. This shows that the old Taoist still has malicious intentions towards a few people. So, should we dig it out? Moreover, if it is really dug out, if the veteran doesn't help, wouldn't it be in vain? Boom, boom, boom. The world shook violently. Su Yu looked around and saw many more spaces emerging, with terrifying monsters coming out one after another. Su Yu knew that there was no time for him to struggle anymore. If the struggle continues, Tianhe City still doesn't know what it will become. Grass. Dig it. Su Yu gritted his teeth and immediately used the treasure map. A space emerged. 3 ugly heads stuck out, and young, middle-aged, and old voices sounded together. My dear, thank you for letting me out. In the future, we will become immortals together. The old man came out. Su Yu saw that the 3 ugly faces had a terrifying flesh and blood mouth. There are more than a dozen small mouths nested in the 3 mouths, all of which are filled with disgusting yellow teeth. The old man's body was bulging and covered with many organs that were not human at all. Under the tattered Taoist robe, the internal organs were inside out, filthy and unclean, and there were strange tentacles wrapped around them. Suddenly, the old man saw the entire Tianhe City and saw endless monsters. The 3 ugly faces immediately showed excitement. Wow. Su Yu couldn't hold it back and vomited everything he ate. Is this a sophisticated approach? If he hadn't seen the prompt, Su Yu would have seriously suspected that this was an extremely disgusting monster. No, this is disrespectful to the monster. Su Yu felt that this old man was more of a monster than a monster, which was really disgusting. Baby, vomit. You'll get used to vomiting. The old man withdrew his gaze and looked at Su Yu. Young, middle-aged, and old voices sounded together, but he didn't mind Su Yu's reaction at all. Finally, Su Yu vomited for a while, and then stopped when nothing could be vomited out. At this time, Su Yu looked miserable, with tears streaming down his face. The old man moved his eyes away from Su Yu and looked at Tianhe City again, his excited expression showing again. Baby, I'll come as soon as I go. Just wait for me, and I will take you to become an immortal together. The old man spoke excitedly. Before Su Yu could speak, the old figure appeared in the distance. A beast that was tens of meters long, with a surging aura, was approaching the War Emperor infinitely. At present, dozens of night watchmen are working together to besiege, but even so, they are still defeated. Suddenly, the old man arrived, and strange tentacles stretched out quickly, entangling the monster that was dozens of meters long. Then, 3 terrifying flesh and blood mouths immediately rushed forward and started biting. But in just a few seconds, the extremely terrifying beast disappeared. Old Taoist. Su Yu chased after him and shouted quickly. don't hurt others, they are all our own. Baby, I have sense. The three ugly faces turned around one after another and grinned, revealing a dozen small mouths nested inside and full of yellow teeth. Ah, Suyu couldn't hold it back, turned around and vomited again, but couldn't vomit anything out, just retching. Not only Suyu, but the dozens of night watchmen who were besieging the beast also vomited when they saw this scene, until tears came out of their eyes. When the old man saw this scene, he was not angry, he just grinned and quickly moved away. In the distance, a humanoid creature was 7 or 8 meters tall, with a purple color all over its body, like a big purple potato. The aura on its body was extremely terrifying, like an abyss or an ocean. Lindsay and Lei Gang worked together to besiege this humanoid creature. However, when the two of them worked together, neither of them was hostile to the other. Suddenly, the old man pounced on him from nowhere, and countless tentacles entangled the purple humanoid creature. The old Taoist opened 3 terrifying flesh and blood mouths, revealing his yellow teeth, and bit down hard. No matter how hard the purple humanoid creature struggled, it made no sense. Suyu rushed over and saw this scene. He thought it was as simple as a lion eating a rabbit. Suyu, what are you doing here? Lindsay's face changed drastically when she saw Suyu, and she whispered, a more ferocious monster is here. It was obvious that she regarded the old Taoist as a monster, and now she was even more afraid of him. She and Lei Gang protected Suyu behind them. Suddenly, the old Taoist's 3 ugly heads turned around. He stared at Lindsay and grinned, showing his yellow teeth. I'm not a monster. I'm a fairy. The next moment, a strange tentacle shot out. Old Taoist, stop. Suyu became anxious and immediately stepped forward and stopped in front of Lindsay. Although Lao Dao was really disgusting, Suyu felt that Lao Dao had no ill intentions towards him. At least, there's no ill intent yet. Sure enough, the weird tentacles stopped immediately. Baby, I listen to you. The old man still had yellow teeth, but he smiled. He retracted his tentacles, turned back, and continued to chew on the purple humanoid creature. Lindsay was covered in cold sweat. At that moment, she felt that she was dead. Moreover, she wanted to resist in her heart, but her body seemed to be frozen, unable to move at all. Lei Gang on the side was also the same, sweating profusely, even his bald head like a light bulb was covered with sweat. Even the underwear he put on his head was completely soaked. They realized that the monster Suyu called Lao Dao was a more terrifying existence than the War Emperor. As the old man turned around, Lindsay and Lei Gang suddenly became extremely relaxed and their bodies could move freely. This feeling of escaping from death is something they will never forget. I dug it out. Noticing the doubtful looks of the two people, Suyu explained, the old Taoist has no ill intentions towards us. Tell all the night watchmen not to do anything to the old Taoist. Suyu is worried that some people think that Lao Dao is a monster and subconsciously attack Lao Dao. When the time comes, they won't even know how they died. Okay, Lindsay nodded, without hesitation, took a photo of Lao Dao, and immediately sent it to all the night watchmen in the Tianhe branch, and told them not to take action against Lao Dao. Baby, you did a great job. Just wait for me and we will become immortals together. After the old man finished chewing the purple humanoid creature, 3 ugly faces turned around, and the voices of young, middle-aged, and old people rang together. Okay, Suyu's scalp was numb, but he had to respond. Boom, the old man disappeared instantly. Suyu saw that the old man appeared in front of a monster again. By the time Suyu arrived, the old Taoist had eaten all the monster's dregs. So far, it seems to be pretty good. Suyu couldn't help but thought to himself after following Lao Dao for a while. Lao Dao is really disgusting, but right now, Lao Dao is helping the night watchman to kill all kinds of dangers that have been dug up. Moreover, the veteran is so fast that he can solve one in a few seconds. Although it's not bad, I still want to continue digging for treasure maps. Suyu felt that he was well prepared. At present, although the experience is pretty good, you still need to be cautious. Once the old Dao goes crazy, even General by himself may not be able to defeat this terrifying strength. Suyu turned around. After a while, Suyu arrived at his destination and looked at it intently. In the past, the great Saint Kishan's Rui golden cudgel was broken, and one of the fragments fell here. If you get it, you can combine it with another fragment you have, allowing you to exert stronger power. Golden writing emerged. Su Yu was immediately happy. Another fragment of the Rui golden cudgel, which is really great. With this thing, whether it's self-protection or killing enemies, it's simply not that satisfying. Su Yu was about to use the treasure map when suddenly, the old Taoist's voice spread throughout Tianhe City. "Ha ha, I'm done, Master Dao." Su Yu couldn't help being shocked, and immediately followed the sound. The old man stepped into the air and stood up, with 3 ugly faces showing crazy smiles. His internal organs were turned out and he was filthy and unclean. Strange tentacles shot out like lightning, covering the entire Tianhe City. The old man took action. Su Yu couldn't help but feel tense, and subconsciously clenched his hands into fists. At this time, you must not cause trouble. Su Yu prayed secretly. Otherwise, he will become a sinner in Tianhe City in Daxia. Because he dug out the old Dao. A series of miserable howls and sounds of begging for mercy were heard in countless places in Tianhe City. "I surrender. I am willing to surrender. I was wrong, please immortal, don't kill me." But soon, these sounds stopped abruptly. It was too far away and Su Yu couldn't see it, but nearby, Su Yu saw with his own eyes that the monsters that were dug out were penetrated by strange tentacles. Boom! Su Yu jumped up and appeared on the roof of a tall building, looking around. The weird tentacles immediately retracted after hitting the target. The tentacles are like barbecue skewers, with 1 or more monsters strung on each tentacle. The old man opened his big mouth of flesh and blood, and swallowed the monsters on the tentacles into his mouth one after another, as if he were eating barbecue. As he ate more and more, the aura on the old man's body became more and more terrifying. At first, Su Yu felt that the old Taoist was very strong, but no matter how strong he was, he should still be at the level of a war emperor. But now, it seems that the bottleneck of the war emperor has been broken and he is evolving towards an unknown realm. Kill, kill, kill. Suddenly, a humanoid creature walked out of a space, with the aura of the war emperor spreading across the world. Someone dug up the treasure map again, releasing an extremely terrifying existence. Although this humanoid creature is in human form, it is over 100 meters tall and looks like a rumored giant. What makes people feel weird is that it actually has a tail. If it were an ordinary tail, it would be fine, but its tail looks somewhat similar to a scorpion tail. Suddenly, the scorpion tail crossed over Tianhe City and stabbed towards Lao Dao. "Zitsa, scorpion-tailed giant, it tastes very good." The 3 ugly faces of the old man were raised, revealing a mouthful of yellow teeth. 2 strange tentacles flashed out and instantly penetrated the scorpion-tailed giant's chest. The scorpion tail contains extremely poisonous poison. Even if the war emperor is stabbed, he will lose his combat effectiveness in an instant. But now, its scorpion tail stopped unwillingly in front of the old man. "It's delicious." The old Taoist hugged the scorpion-tailed giant and started to eat it immediately. "It's too scary." Su Yu couldn't help but sigh. The scorpion-tailed giant was so terrifying. In Su Yu's perception, it was even more terrifying than General Bai's divine incarnation. However, he was instantly killed by the veteran. At this point, the old Taoist did not attack with all his strength, but only stretched out 2 of the many tentacles. "I dug it out and I don't know if it's right or wrong." Su Yu shook his head. "There is no point in worrying about this now, because I have dug it out. There is no regret medicine in this world. That's all, let me continue digging for my treasure map." Su Yu jumped off the tall building, came to the previous place, and immediately used the treasure map. A space emerged. There was a piece of debris floating quietly inside. The moment it emerged from the space, the fragment sensed it and penetrated directly into Su Yu's body. In the inner world, Su Yu saw that the 2 fragments merged into one. Now, it's a larger piece. I wonder if I can dig out all the fragments and combine them into one. By then, wouldn't I have the Rui golden cudgel? Su Yu suddenly felt extremely hot inside. Rui golden cudgel, that is the treasure that every boy dreams of. Now, I have 2 fragments of the Rui golden cudgel. I wonder how much power they can exert. Su Yu raised his eyes and looked at the other person who was fighting with General Bai. That person's face was blurred and couldn't be seen clearly at all. He must have been the incarnation of the divine being. His strength is very terrifying, even if he is a divine incarnation, he still has the cultivation of a war emperor. Su Yu's eyes moved and fell on Lao Dao. The veteran is still diligently killing the dugout monsters. Although it is very cruel, at least he is still one of his own. It's not appropriate to use an old doctor for surgery. Finally, Su Yu's eyes fell on the figure with a blurry face, and then his heart moved. Boom! The world suddenly shook violently. The old Taoist was the first to react and suddenly looked up. When he saw a golden stick falling from the sky, his eyes showed strong fear. Boom! Su Yu hit it hard with a stick. The blurry figure was so frightened that he quickly retreated without any hesitation. Who are you? Why are you going against me? The man said in a deep voice. However, no one responded. The Ruyi golden cudgel hit him hard, and his figure quickly shattered, turning into a divine inscription and scattered around the world. Another war emperor was knocked to death by Su Yu with a stick. When the old man came back to his senses, 3 ugly faces looked at Su Yu. Others don't know, but the old Taoist has been paying attention to Su Yu since he was dug out, so he naturally knows that it was Su Yu who made such a blow. My dear, you and I must support each other on our way to immortality. The veteran's voice reached Su Yu's ears. Su Yu was slightly startled, nodded quickly and said, okay. The old Taoist looked happy. Calm, a little weak, but not completely exhausted. Su Yu took a deep breath and showed a bright smile. It feels so good to be a strong person. Even if I am just borrowing strength, I still feel very good. Su Yu couldn't help but be secretly happy. Suddenly, Su Yu's eyelids twitched. The next moment, his eyes blurred, and General Bai appeared in front of him. How old are you? General Bai asked calmly. Reply to General Bai, I'm 18 years old. Su Yu was shocked and quickly replied. Huh, General Bai was startled for a moment, then suddenly smiled and said, you actually know my identity. General Bai was a little surprised. He is also a night watchman, stationed in East District 1, but he rarely shows up, so the people who know him are actually different. Especially ordinary people and some lower-level warriors. Of course you know that I am the night watchman, and General Bai is a strong man in the East District. If you calculate carefully, he should be my boss. Su Yu said with a smile. Well, it turns out you are the night watchman. No wonder. General Bai took a look at the night watchman watch Su Yu was wearing and understood immediately. He asked with a smile, you dug the Ruyi golden cudgel, from? Seeing that his secret was known to General Bai, Su Yu did not panic and simply said, what was dug out were just fragments of the Ruyi golden cudgel. Fragments. General Bai sighed when he heard this. Did the rumored Dao soldiers also be broken into pieces? General Bai seems to know something. Work hard. General Bai patted Su Yu's shoulder, and then, in a flash, he appeared directly in front of the old Taoist and smiled gently. Fellow Taoist, let's talk. The old man stopped and raised his head. 3 ugly faces stared at General Bai silently. General Bai was not afraid and stared at the old Taoist, constantly sizing him up. After a while, the old Taoist nodded slightly, and young, middle-aged, and old voices said together, okay. But, you have to wait. The old man grinned, showing all his yellow teeth. He pointed his tentacles in all directions and said with a smile, when I finish eating them, I will talk to you again. General Bai took one look, nodded slightly, and agreed. The appearance of the old Taoist made General Bai very afraid. If he could sit down and have a good talk, that would naturally be the best result. Otherwise, if there is a real fight, General Bai feels that even if his true self comes, he may not be an experienced opponent. The old Taoist's aura was not only terrifying, but also very strange, as if something had changed or been contaminated. We'll talk about it later, farewell. General Bai nodded, and his figure appeared above the volcano. This is a volcano that was dug out intentionally. Originally, the volcano was in another dimension. But now, this volcano has descended directly on Tianhe City and is located in the city center. This thing is too dangerous. Fortunately, dark clouds covered the sky and heavy rain continued to fall, so even if the volcano erupted, there would be no hot magma. Boom! General Bai's figure fell down and got into the crater, his figure kept sinking. Finally, General Bai arrived deep underground, and the power in his body spread out. The next moment, the volcano flew up. In the distance, Su Yu couldn't help but shrink his eyes when he saw this scene. Is General Bai so scary? He was actually flying with a volcano on his shoulders. Su Yu watched General Bai carry the volcano away from Tianhe City with his own eyes, and did not stop until he reached an extremely distant place. There is no human habitation there. Even if the volcano erupts, the impact on the citizens of Tianhe City will be relatively small. The dark clouds moved over and continued to rain. The entire Tianhe City also gradually became quiet. Only the sound of the old man's chewing continued, making countless people feel scared. Su Yu climbed up to a tall building and looked around. No one was digging for treasure maps anymore. The danger of being dug out is also being quickly annihilated. Many of them have become seasoned food. I don't know if Teoti has transformed into Teoti. No matter how much I eat, my stomach never bulges. Instead, the aura emitted becomes stronger and stronger, making people feel more and more terrifying. Su Yu, thanks to you again this time, otherwise, Tianhe City will definitely fall. Lin Zi came to Su Yu's side and spoke softly. I am the night watchman, this is what I should do. Su Yu sighed. This time, even if Tianhe City did not fall, the losses must have been huge. Many buildings collapsed and became ruins. Many cars exploded, and although heavy rain extinguished the flames, the cars were totaled. These are all losses. The most important thing is that the casualties this time are probably an extremely terrifying number. This number is so terrifying that the night watchman may not even dare to announce it to the outside world. After a pause, Su Yu asked, what happened this time was definitely not an accident, it must have been man-made. Sister Lin, do you have any clues? There are some. Lin Zi nodded, with a slightly solemn look on his face, and said, what happened this time was probably caused by a cult. Cult? Su Yu was startled for a moment, then thought about it. He checked a lot of information online on the first day he came to Transmigrate. Among them, some mentioned cults. 3 years ago, the treasure map arrived. Someone dug up treasures and after strengthening themselves, they wanted to protect their country. But after someone dug up the treasure, they wanted to destroy it. In particular, some criminals are usually afraid of the law and fear of being punished, but once they gain power, the darkness in their hearts will be infinitely magnified, and they feel that from now on, their fate is up to them. These criminals gather together and form gangs, which become so-called cults. There are many evil cults. I wonder which one Sister Lin is talking about. Su Yu asked again. 7 Kills Cult. Lin Zi said solemnly. Yes, I also think it is the 7 Kills sect. At this time, General Bai came out of the air and said, the first divine avatar that comes today is a clone made of the divine avatar with the word, kill. I am very familiar with that aura, because I have dealt with the 7 Kills sect. This is definitely the work of the 7 Kills sect. When Su Yu heard this, he frowned and thought for a moment, then asked, what does the 7 Kills sect have to do with the 7 Kills monument? According to the news found, someone dug up the 7 Kills monument, but on the day it was dug out, the 7 Kills monument mysteriously disappeared. So far, his whereabouts are unknown. Su Yu originally wanted to ask Lin Zi, but he forgot about it as things got busy. So far, no questions have been asked. What was announced to the public was that the 7 Kills monument mysteriously disappeared. But in fact, based on our investigation, especially now, we can be very sure that the 7 Kills monument fell into the hands of the 7 Kills sect. General Bai talked eloquently. In the 7 Kills sect, there are people who have understood the peerless killing technique on the 7 Kills monument. They have caused a lot of killings in recent years. The Night Watchmen have been hunting down the followers of the 7 Kills cult, but so far, they have had little success. General Bai sighed. Night Watchmen are sometimes powerless. The situation is changing every day. The people of the 7 Kills sect are also digging for treasure maps every day. Sometimes, what they dig out is too powerful. In the past 3 years, the number of casualties among the Night Watchmen has been terrible. At this time, when Su Yu thought about the drop of blood essence of the ancient strongman that he had dug out, he saw a majestic figure with a sword pointing to the sky, murderous intent flying into the sky. Billions of immortals are our soldiers, and millions of great principles are our generals. Kill, 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 kill. At that time, Su Yu felt very shocked. General Bai, do you know the origin of this 7 Kills monument? Su Yu asked. Regarding the origin of the 7 Kills monument, there is no information on the internet at all. General Bai said so much, which made Su Yu feel that General Bai might know something. General Bai thought for a moment and then said, the 7 Kills monument is a stone monument left by a taboo existence countless years ago. It contains a supreme killing technique. Taboos exist. Just these 4 words made Su Yu understand that that ancient strong man must have been a terrifying existence that was unique in the world countless years ago. General Bai, do you know what the Great Principle means? Su Yu suddenly asked. Billions of immortals serve as soldiers, and millions of great principles serve as generals. Immortal, I can still understand, but does the Great Principle refer to the Great Principle Golden Immortal? You even know this. General Bai's eyes showed a strange light. After a moment, General Bai said, the Great Principle refers to all space, eternal freedom. Gold means immortality. Xian, naturally means immortal. The Great Principle Golden Immortal naturally refers to the immortal who is eternally carefree and immortal in all time and space. When we reach the realm of Great Principle Golden Immortal, heaven and earth will be destroyed, but Great Principle Golden Immortal will never die. Su Yu felt enlightened. Sure enough, just as I guessed, the Great Principle refers to the Great Principle Golden Immortal. However, the explanation about the Great Principle Golden Immortal made Su Yu feel too terrifying. The immortal who is eternally free and immortal in all time and space is the Great Principle Golden Immortal. So, in the sentence, a million great principles are generals, even if the word, millions, is an exaggeration, it still shows that the number of Great Principle Golden Immortals is extremely large. But nowadays, where is the Great Principle Golden Immortal? Moreover, General Bai actually knows this, which is not simple. Su Yu came by transmigrate, so he naturally knew the identity of General Bai. No matter how you look at it in history, General Bai is immortal, but here, General Bai was dug up, and General Bai also knew what the Great Principle Golden Immortal was. This can only show that General Bai is not simple. The so-called history may not really be history. Su Yu still had questions and was about to ask when suddenly, the old man appeared in front of him. Now, we can talk. The old Taoist looked at General Bai, showing his yellow teeth. Su Yu vomited several times, but General Bai looked at the old man with a normal expression, and he didn't seem to feel much. General Bai nodded and turned to look at Su Yu and Lin Zi. General Bai, I'll take my leave first. Lin Zi understood and immediately pulled Su Yu to leave. However, the old man looked at Su Yu and said, my child, you stay. Su Yu suddenly felt a little embarrassed. In fact, he also wanted to hear it, but General Bai obviously didn't want him to listen. Su Yu, please stay. General Bai waved his hand, indicating that Lin Zi could leave. After Lin Zi left, General Bai looked at the old Taoist and asked, on behalf of the night watchman, I welcome fellow Taoist to the world. May I ask what the name of fellow Taoist is? What is my name? The old Taoist had a look of confusion on his 3 ugly faces. Finally, he looked at Su Yu and asked, my child, do you remember my name? I don't know. Su Yu shook his head. Suddenly, he felt that the old man's mind might not be working well. He dug out Lao Dao. How could he know his name? Alas, the old Taoist sighed and said to General Bai, it's been too long and I can't remember my name. I only remember that I usually call myself, Master Dao. Otherwise, you can call me Dao. Master. Master Taoist. General Bai felt very uncomfortable, so he immediately changed his words and said, fellow Taoist, you have just been dug out by Su Yu. There are some things that you may not be aware of, so I need to tell you in advance. Please tell me, the old Taoist said. In Daxia, you are not allowed to kill anyone at will. This is the bottom line. General Bai said, if you touch the bottom line, you are going against the Night Watch, and you will definitely be chased by the Night Watch. The 3 faces of the old Taoist suddenly looked at Su Yu and asked, my child, is he threatening me? Can I eat him? General Bai's expression changed. Su Yu's expression also changed, and he quickly said, General Bai is not threatening you, this is a rule. If there are no rules, there will be chaos. If you don't follow the rules, the world will be in chaos. My child, what you said is right. If that's the case, then I agree. I used to be a human being, so naturally I won't kill my compatriots indiscriminately. The old Taoist agreed. General Bai's face suddenly became happy, and then he said, "Fellow Taoist, as soon as I heard what you said, I knew you were a good person. This time in the Tianhe crisis, it was fellow Taoist who stepped in to rescue me. I wonder if fellow Taoist would be willing to join the vigil, people." General Bai extended an invitation to Lao Dao. If such a fighting force can join the Night Watch, then the Night Watch's strength will definitely increase greatly. As for the appearance of the old Taoist, although it is very ugly, it makes people want to vomit. But there are also non-human beings within the Night Watch. They can also contribute to Daxia, so the old way can do it. You can avoid it if you join the Night Watch. The old Taoist refused directly and shook his head. "I am used to being free and do not want to be restricted by others." General Bai couldn't help but look at Su Yu, his eyes indicating Su Yu's advice. Su Yu turned his head directly and pretended not to see it. What advice? The old Taoist's mind is obviously not normal, and he seems to be in the wrong state. If a good-natured person becomes like this, it will be very troublesome if something goes wrong. The veteran's fighting ability is too strong. Once he goes crazy, who can stop him? That's okay. General Bai was a little disappointed and helpless. He groped for a while and took out an ID. Then he wrote a few words on it and handed it directly to the old Taoist, saying, "This is yours. Proof of identity. With this thing, you can apply for an ID card and have a legal identity." "My child, I don't know the words. Please help me read it. What is written on it?" The old man handed the ID to Su Yu. Su Yu took a look and said, "This is a temporary identity certificate. Name, Taoist Master. Age, unknown. Birthplace, Tianhe City. Responsible person, Su Yu." Grass. General Bai, why am I the one responsible? Su Yu looked unhappy. "The one you dug up is naturally the person responsible." General Bai explained. "If something goes wrong, am I still responsible?" Su Yu asked. "Responsibility is not enough, but the salary deduction is true," General Bai said. Su Yu was relieved. How much is the salary? Now he doesn't care at all. Approval to apply for identity certificate. Approver, East District 1, Bai Chi. Su Yu thought. Then, the temporary identity certificate was handed over to Lao Dao. "Okay." The old Taoist nodded, his mouth full of yellow teeth, which made Su Yu almost vomit again. "Okay, then it's okay. I'll leave first." General Bai nodded, his figure rose into the sky, and disappeared at the end of the sky in the blink of an eye. Su Yu took Lao Dao to the Night Watch branch and applied for an ID card for Lao Dao in the lobby. Many of the beings who were dug out had to apply for ID cards as long as they were not enemies. This is Daxia's rule. Someone once joked that even if Tathagata Buddha comes, he still has to apply for an ID card. After applying for the ID card, Su Yu ran into trouble, and the placement of the veteran became a big problem. Fortunately, Lin Zi came, and she said, "The Night Watch branch has a special place for placement. If you don't mind, senior, you can stay in the Night Watch branch temporarily." The old man nodded. After Su Yu followed Lin Zi and settled the old man, he returned to the Night Watchman's family building alone. He was too tired and needed a good rest. However, while sleeping until midnight, Su Yu suddenly woke up. After sitting up, Su Yu saw that the old Taoist had appeared in the room at some point, with 3 ugly faces staring at him silently. This made Su Yu feel terrified. "You, what are you doing?" Su Yu asked subconsciously. "Baby, I'm leaving." The old Taoist sighed, his tone seemed a little reluctant. "I found the way to become an immortal, but I still don't have enough resources. I need to find resources. My child, wait for me. After I find enough resources, I will come back and take you to become an immortal together." After a pause, the old man stretched out 7 or 8 strange tentacles. On the tentacles, there are figures tied respectively. These people all passed out. "This is my gift to you." I saw them digging for treasure maps everywhere and releasing many beings. After saying that, the old man flew out of the window and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Only then did Su Yu react. "It almost scared me to death." Su Yu mistakenly thought that the old Taoist had killed someone. If he were to be killed, the Night Watchman would definitely hunt him down to the end. Fortunately, these people are still alive. Fortunately, these people have problems. Su Yu walked out and went straight to room 807 next door and rang the doorbell. Soon, The door opened. The door opened by the big black dog. Su Yu crossed the big black dog, walked in, and saw Lindsay walking out of the bedroom in pajamas. Sister Lin. As soon as Su Yu started speaking, his expression was startled. I saw a sleepy Lindsay, with a gap between her eyebrows. The next moment, the gap opened, revealing an upright eye. Chapter 51. Seeing the raised eyes, Su Yu suppressed all the words he was about to say. What's happening here? Su Yu was a little confused. From ancient times to the present, there are only a few people with 3 eyes. Among them, there is only one who is most famous and familiar to the common people, and that is Erlang true monarch Yang Jian. In addition to Yang Jian, there is also Lord Ma. As the saying goes, if you don't have a look, you won't know that Lord Ma has 3 eyes. There is also Wen Zhang, the Grand Master of the Yin and Shang dynasties and a veteran of the 3 dynasties. It is said that he also had 3 eyes. Finally, Yin Zhao, the prince of the Yin Shang dynasty, studied under Guang Chengji, and also had 3 eyes. Basically, these 4 are the only ones Su Yu knows. This made Su Yu couldn't help but guess, could Lindsay have a certain relationship with them? The last 3 are just fine. If Lindsay and Yang Jian are related, then Lindsay's 3rd eye will be very scary. That is the eye of heaven. The heavenly eye is open and looks in all directions, just like the palm of a hand. It is no exaggeration to say that the eye of heaven is truly terrifying. Su Yu, what's wrong with you? Why are you staring at me? Lindsay waved her hand in front of Su Yu, then looked down and found that she was not exposed. What's wrong with Su Yu? This made her very confused. Nothing, I suddenly thought of some fairy tales. Su Yu shook his head and found that Lindsay's 3rd eye gradually faded away, and in the end, there was not even a trace. After a pause, Su Yu said, Sister Lin, I'll come to my room and see you if I have anything to do. Now, Lindsay frowned slightly and said with some dissatisfaction, you didn't let me sleep most of the night. If I get wrinkles, are you responsible? As he said this, Lindsay had already walked out. After returning home, Su Yu pointed to the 8 figures on the ground and said, this is sent by the old Taoist. Old Taoist said, these people dig up treasure maps everywhere and release a lot of beings. On weekdays, there is no problem, but during the day, these people go everywhere digging for treasure maps, and their purpose is very suspicious. Lindsay's face became serious. By the way, one more thing. The old man has left. I don't know where he went. Su Yu added. The old Tao is gone. Lindsay asked in surprise, the old Tao is gone, and we in Tianhe City will lose an invincible strong man. It's a pity. Besides, the old Taoist should be safer in front of us. It would be bad if we kill someone while we are away. Lindsay was a little worried. Don't worry, no one will provoke the old Taoist. The old Taoist will not kill people casually. Su Yu was also helpless and could only comfort him. I hope so. Lindsay sighed, and then said, Su Yu, you have done a great job. You have made a great contribution this time. Through these people, we may be able to know something. Having said this, Lindsay clicked on the night watchman's watch. In less than 3 minutes, Li Xiao came directly. Ahem, what's going on? Li Xiao looked very tired and his eyes were bloodshot. During the day, Tianhe City was almost wiped out. Although the crisis had been resolved, as the head of the Tianhe branch of the Night Watch, he could not rest and had many things waiting for him to do. Lindsay looked at Su Yu. Su Yu understood and quickly said what Lindsay had said again. Good guy, I've been looking for most of the night. Many of them committed suicide. It's really good that you can find one alive. Li Xiao's bloodshot eyes couldn't help but light up. Even though he had guessed the origins of these people, he still wanted to catch them alive to see if he could ask anything. At least, we need to know why we are targeting Tianhe City this time. There must be a purpose for what a cult does. Only by knowing the purpose can we better think of ways to deal with it. Otherwise, who knows if the cult will cause trouble again. This time I will remember you for your great achievements. After 2 days, I will finish my work, tally up your achievements, and give you a reward. Li Xiao drew a big pie, and then asked, then, that old Taoist is really gone. Quote. Li Xiao was very afraid when he mentioned Lao Dao. I'm really gone. Su Yu said, there is no need for the old Taoist to lie to me. The old Taoist said that he has found a way to become an immortal, but he still lacks resources and needs to go out to find them. Li Xiao was thoughtful, and after a while, he said, I know about this matter. I will report it to the superiors and let the superiors handle it. Okay, you continue to rest. Get up early tomorrow. There are still many things waiting for you to do. Li Xiao said. No, I don't feel sleepy now. I have to get busy. Lin Zi said seriously. It's not necessary. There are many people coming up. They are not fighting, they are full of energy and are helping to deal with it. Li Xiao advised. Otherwise, Lin Zi would not be able to rest at all. I'm not sleepy anymore. At this time, Su Yu said, if you have anything to do, just send it to me and I'll deal with it. If nothing happens, I'll go dig for the treasure map. When I was an ordinary person, I naturally didn't get enough sleep in this little time. However, after becoming the War King, you can quickly enter deep sleep. Therefore, Su Yu is actually very energetic now and feels that he has had enough sleep. In that case, that's fine. You guys take a shower and come to the branch to report. There are a lot of things going on right now, and you really need to deal with them. Li Xiao stretched out his hand, and his power spread out, covering 8 unconscious figures. These figures immediately floated into the sky. I'm leaving first. Li Xiao quickly left with 8 figures. Su Yu, I'm going to wash up. You should also wash up quickly, and then we'll go to work together. Lin Zi said and was about to leave. Wait, Su Yu said subconsciously. Is there anything else? Lin Zi turned around and asked. Su Yu was a little confused. Should he ask about the 3 eyes? But asking rashly seems a bit too abrupt. But even if I don't ask, I feel really itchy. Just tell me if you have anything to say. Lin Zi seemed to see it and said with a smile, we're all so familiar with each other. If you have anything to say, just say it. At most, I will kick you out of this building. Sister Lin, do you know you have 3 eyes? Su Yu hesitated for a long time and finally asked. 3 eyes. Lin Zi was slightly startled, touched the center of her eyebrows, and then said, have you seen the 3rd eye between my eyebrows? Well, what I saw when I went in just now is gone now. Su Yu said, so, Sister Lin, you already knew. Well, I've known it for a long time. However, this 3rd eye is completely useless. It is not under my control at the moment, and I can't feel it. Lin Zi shook his head. She had really known this for a long time, but it was of no use at all. Sister Lin, do you know why you have a 3rd eye? Su Yu asked. Hearing Su Yu's inquiry, Lin Zi fell silent, but soon she said, it's actually nothing. At first, I didn't know, but later, someone told me that it was because Yang Jian's blood was flowing in my body. Quote. I think that's probably the most reasonable explanation. Sister Lin, your surname is Lin. Su Yu was confused. Actually, my surname is Yang. Lin Zi seemed unwilling to mention her past, and said a little unnaturally, later, my mother changed my surname to me, so I called her Lin Zi. Su Yu suddenly realized, his eyes filled with envy, and he subconsciously said, why don't I have Yang Jian's bloodline? If I remember correctly, Yang Jian's 3rd eye is the heavenly eye. The eyes of the sky are open and look in all directions, just like the palm of your hand. Just listening to it is terrifying. Su Yu is really envious. This kind of bloodline inheritance is only coveted by outsiders. What are you thinking about? Lin Zi patted Su Yu's head and said, having blood inheritance may not be a good thing, it may also be a shackle that prevents one's evolution. Okay, hurry up and wash up, we have to go to work. We have to be very busy these 2 days. Lin Zi left. When she returned home, she looked at the big black dog and suddenly asked, am I really of Yang Jian's blood? Of course. The big black dog raised his head and said, otherwise, why do you think my majestic roaring sky dog would follow you? Okay, Lin Zi asked again, what about my ancestors? Master, died in battle. The big black dog suddenly said sadly. Died in battle. This was the first time Lin Zi heard this. She had asked it many times before, but every time, the big black dog just remained silent. This time, the big black dog rarely spoke. Can you tell me what happened back then? Lin Zi sat down and spoke softly. What did you say? I forgot everything. The big black dog turned and walked towards the balcony. The corners of its eyes were wet with tears streaming down its face. It is a lofty barking dog, and it must never let a junior see him crying. Is the enemy very strong? Lindsay thought for a while and asked. Very strong, very strong. The big black dog suddenly stopped, unwilling to say any more. Lindsay was thoughtful and then started to wash up. I'm afraid the big black dog won't say anything anymore, so there's no point in asking again. Wait a few days and ask again. What happened back then? Lindsay was also curious. 10 minutes later, Lindsay went out and saw Su Yu already waiting. The big black dog also followed him out of the door, raised his paw and knocked on Su Yu's door. The door is locked. Su Yu had no choice but to open the door and watched helplessly as the big black dog swaggered in and then lay down on the balcony. It likes you very much, Lindsay said with a smile. Su Yu was silent. It likes fur. It just likes to peek at the history records on his computer. Of course, Su Yu didn't say this. The night watchman, Tianhe branch, the lights are brightly lit, people are coming and going, everyone is busy. Su Yu and Lindsay walked in, no one paid any attention to them. We are all too busy, where do we have the time and energy to say hello to these two people? Minister. The two came to Li Xiao. Captain Lin, a citizen has reported that several monsters have hidden themselves in the department store. Go there yourself and get rid of them. Li Xiao glanced down, then raised his head and said. Okay. Lindsay accepted the order and left immediately to carry out the mission. Minister, are there still people digging for treasure maps? Su Yu asked with a frown. There are still people digging, but the number is much smaller. Some people are taking advantage of our absence, so they are wreaking havoc. Li Xiao sighed. There are still some people who are probably scared by what happened during the day and are going out to dig now. Treasure map. I want to improve my self-protection capabilities. Su Yu understood, and then asked, what do you want me to do? Now that he is a night watchman, he naturally needs to do something. This is inevitable. Of course, these are nothing compared to the benefits of the night watchman. Su Yu, are you afraid of death? Li Xiao did not immediately arrange a task for Su Yu, but instead asked with a twinkling look. Afraid, Su Yu said bluntly. It's normal to be afraid of death. Who is not afraid of death? Maybe there are people who are not afraid of death, but Su Yu feels that he is really afraid of death. At least, now I am afraid of death. Not only was he afraid of death, he was also afraid of pain. Su Yu, what you said just messed up what I was about to say. Li Xiao felt helpless. He expected that Su Yu would say that he was not afraid of death. Even if he is really afraid of death, he will say so on the surface. Minister, you don't want me to do anything dangerous, do you? Su Yu guessed. It's dangerous, it's really dangerous, but if it succeeds, it will be a great achievement. Li Xiao said, I have interrogated the 8 people you sent, and they are from the 7 Kills cult. The 7 Kills sect is a cult that has been doing things secretly. Through them, I learned the purpose of their troubles during the day. What's the purpose? Su Yu asked immediately. The 7 Kills monument is actually in the hands of the 7 Kills sect. Li Xiao said. I know this. General Bai has said it. Su Yu said, you continue. The 7 Kills monument shook in the past 2 days. The senior officials of the 7 Kills sect thought that someone had dug up something related to the 7 Kills monument. Li Xiao rolled his eyes at Su Yu and continued. In the end, they targeted Tianhe City. In other words, if their judgment is not wrong, someone in Tianhe City has dug up something related to the 7 Kills monument. They wanted that thing, so they caused this killing. They believe that as long as there are enough killings, the people who dig up things related to the 7 Kills monument will definitely be affected by the killings. It's just that they haven't found that person yet. Having said this, Li Xiao felt a little dry, picked up a cup of coffee on the table, took a sip, and continued. My idea is that I will release the news to the outside world, saying that you dug up a treasure, and Keisha the monument has something to do with it. Minister, do you want me to be used as bait to lure people from the 7 Kills cult? Su Yu frowned. This is too dangerous. One mistake could lead to death. Yes, that's what I think. Li Xiao took another sip of coffee and then asked, if you agree, I will make arrangements immediately. During this process, I will try my best to ensure your safety. Afterwards, I will also. How do you feel about your first achievement? No, Su Yu shook his head. Minister, I have no enmity with you, but you are trying to kill me. If you agree, I will give you 10 additional treasure maps. Li Xiao said. As a night watchman, I have to protect my family, my country, and the common people. Don't say that I'm being used as a bait. I'm willing to die even if I'm asked to do so. Su Yu looked expectant. 50 pictures. Li Xiao looked happy, but suddenly his expression turned stiff. Too many, 20 pictures. Li Xiao shook his head. Are you kidding? 50 treasure maps are worth at least 10 million. It is equivalent to Su Yu's salary for 8 years. Minister, are you kidding me? You want me to work hard for 20 treasure maps? Su Yu sneered, as if he had seen through Li Xiao's conspiracy. 25, no more. Li Xiao shook his head. 40 pieces, no more. Su Yu bargained. 30 pieces. All I can give you is 30 pieces. I can't give you any more. Otherwise, the higher-ups won't approve it. Li Xiao frowned slightly. Okay, deal. Su Yu agreed directly without bargaining, and then said, but, I still have 2 conditions. When Li Xiao heard this, his face was slightly happy. Su Yu was still a little too young. He could get it with just 30 treasure maps. It was a huge profit. Tell me, what are the conditions? I will try my best to satisfy them if they can be met. Li Xiao said. The first condition is that the minister will delay the release of news to the outside world for 1 day. Su Yu said, tonight, or tomorrow morning, the news will be released to the outside world. When used as bait, you can get at least 30 treasure maps, and there will be rewards afterwards. It's not a loss no matter what. But it's too dangerous. It was impossible for Su Yu to place his own safety on others. Therefore, by delaying it for 1 day, Su Yu would have enough time to dig out the treasure map. When the time comes, digging out some treasures can also protect you. This gives you a sense of security. Well, this is okay, I promise you. Li Xiao hesitated for a while and then agreed, and then asked, what about the second condition? Su Yu's first condition, in Li Xiao's opinion, is not a condition at all. Even if Su Yu didn't mention it, he wouldn't be able to release the news now. Although the crisis in Tianhe City has passed, there are still a lot of aftermath things to do in Tianhe City, and he has no time to distract himself. Moreover, using Su Yu as bait was too dangerous, and he needed to make some preparations to ensure Su Yu's safety. These things cannot be prepared in 3 to 5 minutes. Tell me quickly, what is the second condition? Seeing that Su Yu did not speak immediately, Li Xiao urged. He is very busy now and doesn't have much time to spend on Su Yu. The 30 treasure maps must be given to me now. Su Yu said. Only with the treasure map can we have confidence. Moreover, not all treasure maps can unearth treasures. A sufficient number can ensure a greater probability of digging out treasures. This has to go through the process. Before Li Xiao finished speaking, Su Yu immediately turned around and left. Li Xiao said anxiously, Su Yu, what are you doing? This thing can't be done. Su Yu shook his head. Are you kidding me? It was too dangerous to be used as bait, and Li Xiao was unwilling to redeem 30 treasure maps in advance. Is this something a human being can do? Su Yu, you misunderstood. This does require a process. However, I have made the decision. I will personally advance 30 treasure maps to you. Li Xiao felt helpless, and 30 more treasure maps appeared out of thin air in his hand. Just now, he thought Su Yu was too young, but now he feels that Su Yu is really nothing. Thank you, Minister. Su Yu came back, took the treasure map from Li Xiao's hand, and counted it carefully in front of Li Xiao. No more, no less, exactly 30 treasure maps. Li Xiao looked ugly. Did he not believe me so much? Would I covet your treasure map? Don't worry, Minister, I, Su Yu, am the night watchman. Even if there is no treasure map, I will do my best and die. Su Yu said seriously. Li Xiao didn't believe it at all, but he said, I believe you. The two of them had a tacit understanding. Then I'm leaving, Su Yu said with a smile. I won't stay in the branch today. I'm going to dig for treasure maps and make preparations for my future use as bait. Minister, is it okay? No problem, go ahead. Be careful, Li Xiao warned. I will, I've always had good luck. Su Yu smiled. After Su Yu left, Li Xiao shook his head with a smile. pressed the Secret Service earpiece in his ear, and said, "Arrange someone to contact the old Taoist and tell the old Taoist that someone from a cult is coming to kill Su Yu, and that Su Yu is in danger." After ending the call, Li Xiao muttered proudly, "If an invincible strong man takes action, not to mention 30 treasure maps, but 3,000 treasure maps, it's all blood money. It's a pity that Su Yu is not here, otherwise, he would definitely fall out with Li Xiao. There are 3,000 treasure maps, I don't know how long it will take to dig them all. If Su Yu had so many treasure maps, he would just ascension where he is. What a pity." After leaving the gate of the Night Watch branch, Su Yu saw Lin Zi. Lin Zi's body was stained with blood, but fortunately it didn't seem to be a big deal. "Sister Lin, what's wrong with you?" Su Yu asked. "I met a difficult war king and killed him." Lin Zi looked down and said, "This is the blood of the enemy." Su Yu felt relieved now. "By the way, what tasks has the minister assigned to you?" Lin Zi asked. "This." Su Yu glanced around, hesitated for a moment, and said, "It's not convenient to talk about it here." After changing places, Su Yu finally spoke out, and then asked, "Sister Lin, you are the best to me in the entire Night Watch branch. Do you think it's risky for me to be used as bait?" Lin Zi was silent. After a while, Lin Zikai said, "The risk is very high, and there may be a risk of death. The Seven Kills cult will do whatever it takes to achieve their goals. If they mistakenly think that you are really the person they want to find, then they will try their best to catch you, or even kill you." Lin Zi stood up and said, "No, I think it's too dangerous no matter how I think about it. I'll go tell the minister. If you really want to be used as bait, I can do it." "Why do you need to do it? Being bait does not mean you die in vain." She felt that the minister was asking Su Yu to die, so she was naturally unhappy. "Sister Lin, as a night watchman, why would we wish to die?" Su Yu said seriously. Lin Zi was moved and couldn't help but look at Su Yu carefully. Is this still the Su Yu she knew? She still remembered very clearly that when she invited Su Yu to join the Night Watch, Su Yu did not agree at first, but offered enough benefits before Su Yu joined. But now Su Yu seems to have changed. "You are still young and shouldn't say such things. In this case, you go and do your work first, and I will talk to the minister." Lin Zi withdrew her gaze and turned to Li Xiao's office. After a while, Lin Zi walked out of Li Xiao's office and cursed, "This Su Yu is really not a thing. Li Xiao is not even a thing." In the office, Li Xiao heard Lin Zi's words and felt helpless, pretending not to hear. On the street, Su Yu was running very fast. But gradually, Su Yu stopped. This time, countless people were displaced and their families were destroyed. And all of this was caused by the Seven Kills cult. This means that I don't have the strength now and can't find anyone yet. Otherwise, I will kill all the people in the Seven Kills cult and leave no one behind. Su Yu's eyes were filled with murderous intent, and the blood in his body surged, making Su Yu a little hot-blooded and wishing he could destroy the Seven Kills sect now. "We are all human beings, why should we cause trouble? Isn't it delicious to live well?" After a long time, Su Yu's enthusiasm calmed down. Department store. Su Yu is here. This is the location marked on one of the treasure maps. Here, there is ruins, and the ground is stained with blood. Yesterday, a very terrifying presence appeared here and destroyed it. Today, Lin Zi came here again to fight here. Su Yu stepped forward slowly and looked down. Several monster corpses fell to the ground, with blood holes between their eyebrows. "Remember your appearance. When I become stronger in the future, I will kill you until you become history." Murderous intent rushed out of Su Yu's eyes. "What's wrong with me?" After a while, Su Yu came back to his senses and realized that something was wrong with him. "Grass. Isn't it the essence and blood of that ancient strong man that has affected me? If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have absorbed the power in the blood essence." Cursing, Su Yu came to the exact location marked on the treasure map, looked at it carefully, and golden handwriting suddenly appeared. "A border army from the Daughter Kingdom sleeps here, about 30,000 of them. Before they fell asleep, they hadn't seen a man for 3,000 years. If you wake them up, you will die of exhaustion. Have you not seen a man in 3,000 years? Grass. Who can bear this? It must not be released. At least, it must not be released now." Su Yu cursed secretly. Another treasure map was wasted. Moreover, this kind of dangerous treasure map cannot be sold yet. If you sell it to others, if others dig it out, you will suffer the same consequences. Wait a minute, wait until I get stronger, and then dig out this treasure map. By then, I'm going to write a book, draw more than 30,000 single readers, and give each of them a wife. The third-year female student holds a gold brick. The third-year female student ranks in the immortal class. Su Yu couldn't help but thought to himself. As for now, it is better to avoid it. Digging them out is uncontrollable and the risk is too great. If you exhaust yourself to death, it's really not worth it. On to the next one. Su Yu took out another treasure map, looked at the location marked on it, and hurried over. Some underground parking lot. Su Yu's figure appeared. The location marked on the treasure map is here. Su Yu took out the treasure map and was about to read the prompts when he suddenly heard someone talking nearby. Brother, do we really want to dig for treasure maps here? We have to dig. This is a task assigned by the superiors. But once we dig, we may die first. If we don't dig, we will die. If we dig, there is still hope of living. It's said that as long as we go back alive, each of us will be rewarded with 10 treasure maps. Do you know what this means? But, nothing but, I'll do the digging, and you'll be responsible for recording the video. Otherwise, we won't be able to deliver the work when we get back. When Su Yu heard this, his expression became very ugly. It's already this time, but the 7 Kills cult is still causing trouble. It's really not a thing. Boom. Su Yu rushed over and snatched the only treasure map in their hands, then grabbed one of them by the hair and smashed it to the ground. When the other person saw this, he wanted to run away, but as soon as the figure moved, Su Yu appeared in front of him. Without saying anything, Su Yu slapped the other person on the face. His face suddenly swelled up, his figure turned around dozens of times, stars appeared in his eyes, and he fell down in a daze. Who are you? Why did you steal our treasure map and attack us? Some of them asked. Su Yu did not answer, but pressed on the night watchman's watch. In less than a minute, Li Xiao came directly. Call. After seeing Su Yu, the stone hanging in Li Xiao's heart fell away. He breathed a long sigh of relief and said, Su Yu, just be okay. You almost scared me to death. After walking over, Li Xiao looked at the 2 people on the ground and asked, what is going on? Su Yu raised the treasure map in his hand and told the story. I suspect that the 2 of them are members of the 7 Kills cult. Even if they are not, there is still a problem. I know. Li Xiao nodded, then walked over and stepped on them hard, and then stepped on them again, breaking one of their legs. Ah! Both of them howled miserably, covered in cold sweat. Now, I ask and you answer. Li Xiao squatted down and said, those who answer slowly will have their hands and feet broken. If they are all broken, then I will crush your necks. Are you from the 7 Kills cult? Li Xiao asked. Yes, one of them replied, while the other remained silent. Crack. Li Xiao stood up and stepped down hard, breaking the legs of the other person. Do you really think I'm teasing you? Li Xiao's expression was cold, and he was also very cruel. How many people did you dispatch this time? Li Xiao asked. I don't know. They both replied at the same time. Wrong answer. Li Xiao stepped down twice in succession, and the 2 of them broke 1 foot and 1 hand respectively. The third question. At this point, Li Xiao suddenly turned his head and looked at Su Yu, and then said, that's it, I'll take it back for interrogation. The next method will be even crueler than now, and it's not suitable for you to see. Arrive. Su Yu was speechless. What's this? Before he could speak, the 2 people on the ground immediately said in horror. I said, whatever you want to know, I'll tell you everything. I know everything, I'll tell you everything. When the 2 of them heard that the next method was even more cruel than before, they immediately became scared. Li Xiao means it. They did not follow the normal procedures at all and acted directly violently, which made them panic. Don't be anxious, think about it now. When we get to the Night Watch branch later, whoever of you speaks more will be able to live. Li Xiao said grimly. As for the one who speaks the least, today next year it's your death anniversary. Su Yu, you did a great job. Thank you for your hard work. Li Xiao waved his hand towards Su Yu. Unlike these 2 people, he smiled brightly and was very gentle. Goodbye, Minister. Su Yu nodded. Li Xiao's heart moved, and the two figures levitated into the air and followed him out of the underground parking lot. I don't know what they are going to dig up, let me take a look first. Su Yu picked up the treasure map that he snatched and looked at it intently. In the past, a forbidden being, in a fit of rage, destroyed a part of the great world, totaling 30 billion living beings. Here is a trace of killing intent left by that forbidden being. Once it is released, it will spread over 100 miles. Within, all living creatures will be affected and kill each other until they die. Golden writing emerged. Su Yu's expression suddenly became extremely ugly. Grass. It's really not a thing. How dare you let this thing out? Tianhe City is densely populated. Once it affects a radius of hundreds of miles, it is unimaginable. Su Yu's eyes were filled with murderous intent, and he wished he could destroy the 7 Kills sect now. They are all crazy. Well, wait. Su Yu suddenly frowned. The people of the 7 Kills cult continue to dig up treasure maps and release many dangerous entities. How do they know that these treasure maps must be dangerous? At this moment, Su Yu's expression became solemn. They can't predict the future, right? I'll ask the minister when I get back. Su Yu thought secretly. Then, Su Yu came to another location in the underground parking lot. This is his goal. Su Yu looked intently, and the golden handwriting appeared again. In the past, when Zhang died in battle, there was a divine eye in the middle of his forehead, which could distinguish between evil and evil, loyalty and liver, and human heart. With it, you can distinguish between loyalty and evil, and know good and evil. However, it was too damaged and the cultivation level was too high. You can't see the height. Looking at the golden handwriting, Su Yu was stunned. This is Wen Zhang's third eye. Wen Zhang, a grand master during the Yin and Shang dynasties, a veteran of the 3 dynasties. He was taught by Jia Zhao Jin Ling Sheng of Bio Palace, and was good at the 5 escapes of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. As the old saying goes, literature is enough to stabilize a country, and force is enough to rule a country. The text in it refers to Grand Master Wen Zhongwen. Hey, wait a minute. Su Yu's eyes suddenly lit up. If I had this eye, wouldn't I be able to tell who is good and who is bad? The most complicated thing in this world is the human heart. Some people do one thing before others and another behind others. In front of others, they are all good people, but behind the scenes, they might be the ones who stab you. There are also strangers who don't know each other at all, let alone whether the other person is a good person. If Grand Master Wen Zhongwen had his third divine eye, even if it was severely damaged, he would still be able to distinguish the good and evil of many people. Grass. This thing is a good thing. Although it does not improve my strength, it improves my abilities and even improves my ability to protect myself at critical moments. Dig. Must dig. Su Yu was so excited that he immediately used the treasure map without any hesitation. A space emerged. One eye floats quietly inside. It looks very ordinary, but who would have thought that it would be the third divine eye of Grand Master Wen Zhongwen? Su Yu stretched out his hand. The third divine eye seemed to sense something and flew over immediately, hovering in front of Su Yu. It seemed to have a spirit and was sizing up Su Yu, as if trying to determine whether Su Yu was loyal or traitorous, good or evil. After about half a minute, it seemed to be recognized, and it penetrated directly into Su Yu's eyebrows. Grass. I won't turn into a 3-eyed baby, right? Su Yu's expression changed slightly, and he quickly came to a car and looked in the rearview mirror. Fortunately, I didn't turn into a 3-eyed baby. But there is a light mark between my eyebrows. If you don't look carefully, you can't see it at all. Well, the light mark is gone. At the same time, Su Yu felt that he had established a very close connection with Grand Master Wen Zhongwen's third divine eye. Through the contact, Su Yu clearly felt that he could control the third divine eye. But if one day, he becomes a treacherous person, a bad person, then Wen Zhongwen's third divine eye will choose to leave. Different road non-phase plan. Go out and find someone to try the effect. Su Yu couldn't control his inner thoughts and walked out of the parking lot quickly. Outside, a faint mark appeared again between Su Yu's eyebrows. Well, that's a good guy. He's a good guy too. Still a good person. Su Yu couldn't help but sigh. There are still many good people in this world. But soon, Su Yu's expression changed. There was a person in front of him who was sneaky, his eyes flickered, and he felt a little guilty. Su Yu immediately looked at it intently. The eyebrows were slightly hot, giving Su Yu feedback that he was a wicked person. Su Yu, why are you here? Suddenly, Lin Zi's voice sounded next to him. Huh, Sister Lin. Su Yu was a little surprised. They had just separated and saw Lin Zi again. He asked, why is Sister Lin here too? An enthusiastic citizen reported that someone was digging for treasure maps here and released many poisonous insects. I came over to deal with them. Lin Zi said quickly. Oh, I'm digging for a treasure map here. Su Yu glanced at the sneaky man and said in a low voice, there is a problem with that man. If he is arrested and interrogated, there might be some unexpected gains. Huh, Lin Zi raised her eyes and took a closer look. Sneaky, there must be a problem, but now, dealing with the poisonous insects is the most important thing. Sister Lin, what if this person is a member of the Seven Kills cult? If we dig out something else, I can't imagine the consequences. Su Yu said, or, I will arrest the person, and you can deal with the poisonous insects. Okay, Lin Zi nodded and left quickly. At this time, it is best to separate. As soon as Lin Zi left, Su Yu walked towards that person. Suddenly, Su Yu stopped and looked at the other person with some surprise. The man was wearing a suit, carrying a briefcase, and had shiny hair. At first glance, he is a successful person. His eyes are calm and no one would associate him with a bad person. But Su Yu saw that he was a big bad guy. Either adultery or evil. They are all bad people. Killed them all, no one was wronged. Boom, Su Yu took action suddenly without any warning. The man in a suit rolled his eyes and fell to the ground. The sneaky person immediately panicked when he saw this scene. However, before he could make any move, Su Yu appeared in front of him. Boom, Su Yu slapped him away, and the sneaky man spun around in circles for more than a dozen times before fainting. Although I believe in Grandmaster Wen Zhongwen's third divine eye, I still have to verify it. Furthermore, although dangers continue every day, the doomsday has not come after all, and some order must still be followed. Otherwise, just kill him. Su Yu shook his head. Who are you? Why do you suddenly attack passers-by? Put your hands up. Suddenly, a nearby night watchman rushed over with a solemn look on his face. He saw Su Yu's attack, which was so fast that he could not catch up. But he still rushed over. Moreover, he also issued an urgent appeal for help, calling the nearby night watchman for support. The entire Tianhe city is now full of night watchmen. Soon, the place will be surrounded by night watchmen. Su Yu was helpless, raised his left wrist, shook it, and said, Brother, I am also a night watchman. The night watchman saw the night watch Su Yu was wearing flashing, which was his request for help. His expression softened slightly, but he still did not dare to be careless and said, Show me your ID. Su Yu took out his ID and threw it away. Hey, are you Su Yu? After seeing it, the night watchman immediately relaxed and said, I'm really sorry just now. In the past 2 days, my nerves have been a little sensitive. I don't think anyone looks like a good person. It's okay. Su Yu said that he could understand. Suddenly, the night watchman's watch flashed again. Su Yu lowered his head and saw that it was Lin Zi asking for help. Brother, there is something wrong with these two people. Handle them and wait for me to come back. Su Yu hurriedly confessed and immediately ran in the direction of Lin Zi. On the other side, Lin Zi was running away with 2 night watchmen. Behind them were densely packed poisonous insects. Captain Lin, I'm sorry. We didn't expect that there would suddenly be so many poisonous insects. One of the night watchmen couldn't help but blame himself. When they asked for help, there were not so many poisonous insects. But after Lin Zi arrived, a large number of poisonous insects suddenly emerged. It has nothing to do with you. Lin Zi said while running, wait a moment, someone will come to support you soon. Suddenly, Lin Zi sensed something and immediately shouted, Su Yu, this way. Boom, Su Yu's figure jumped high and landed steadily behind Lin Zi. Lin Zi stopped and asked, can it be solved? Yes, Su Yu replied. Be careful, there are several War King level beings inside the poisonous insects. Lin Zi said worriedly. I know. Su Yu rushed towards the poisonous insects. Boom, Xuanwang Yan rushed out. Su Yu's whole body was on fire, and the terrifying flames set off flames several meters high, covering all directions. All the poisonous insects that came close were instantly burned to ashes. But this is not enough. Su Yu bathed the world with strange fire and rushed directly into the army of poisonous insects. Wherever it passes, the momentum is overwhelming and unstoppable. Behind the endless poisonous insects, several War King-level poisonous insects rushed towards Su Yu. But as soon as they got closer, they turned into ashes. When the remaining poisonous insects saw this scene, they were all frightened and retreated like the tide. Boom! A bolt from the blue. Suddenly, endless rain poured down. The flames on Su Yu's body quickly extinguished. When the poisonous insects that had just retreated saw this scene, they rushed over again. Grass! What a sin! Su Yu looked up and saw a dark cloud appearing above him. He couldn't help but cursed. Are you trying to kill me? Why don't you get out of here? Suddenly, the rain all over the sky disappeared. The dark clouds rolled and condensed into an aggrieved face, and then moved pitifully towards the volcano outside the city. Endless poisonous insects rushed over and were about to drown Su Yu. Suddenly, the endless flames rose again. Xuanwang Yan is the strange fire of heaven and earth, which can burn everything in heaven and earth. This may be an exaggeration, but burning some poisonous insects is still not a big problem. In particular, these poisonous insects can't even fight sovereign level one by one. Boom! The terrifying flames seemed to set off a huge wave, covering the front in an instant, burning the endless poisonous insects into ashes. Several poisonous insects at the level of War Kings no longer hesitated and turned around and ran away. But at this time, Lin Zi crossed over the poisonous insects, thrust out the purple spear, and nailed several poisonous insects to the ground. Xuanwang flames covered it and burned the poisonous insect's body clean. Within about 3 to 5 minutes, all the poisonous insects dug out by someone unknown were wiped out. No one survived. Su Yu, you are awesome. Lin Zi put away her gun and stood up, with a majestic and generous mind. She said to Su Yu, faced with so many poisonous insects, even I can only run away. She was a little envious. Strange fire, so useful. She wants it too. If she can possess strange fire, her combat power will be improved by more than one level. After all, Su Yu had just joined the King of War for the first time, so he was only rank 1 of the King of War. But she is actually not far from the War Emperor, but the baby is not as powerful as Su Yu. You two continued to patrol around. Lin Zi turned around and ordered the other 2 night watchmen. Okay, Captain, we're leaving first. The 2 night watchmen left quickly. There are night watchmen everywhere in Tianhe City. They are responsible for patrolling and sitting on one side. Once someone digs out danger, they will rush forward as soon as possible. If they cannot defeat them, they will immediately request support from the branch. In the past 3 years, countless night watchmen have died in battle. Not only the night watchmen, but also many common people, because digging for treasure maps is dangerous, and the first person to die will be you. Very few survived. There are also a very small number of people who dug up treasures and evolved themselves, becoming warriors, or war kings, or even war emperors. They become the strong and protect the weak, so that humans can continue to survive. Otherwise, Tianhe City would have been gone in the past 3 years. The solution to the poisonous insects this time is all your credit. I will report it to the minister truthfully. Lin Zi said directly. Thank you, Sister Lin. Su Yu said with a smile. Although the minister has not rewarded himself with the treasure map yet, it will happen sooner or later. He wouldn't be greedy for his little treasure map. If that really happened, he would just give up the burden. By the way, Sister Lin, I want to ask. Su Yu said, yesterday I contributed a lot. Logically speaking, I should have made a great contribution to protecting my family and country and protecting the common people. But so far, there is no treasure hidden in the sky. Please give me a reward, what's going on? Su Yu was a little confused. I don't know the specific reason. In other words, no one in the world has figured it out yet. Lin Zi shook his head and said frankly, however, judging from the situation in the past 3 years, the reward given by God may be late. But I will definitely not be absent. Just wait patiently. Lin Zi comforted Su Yu. The rewards given by God may not always be on time. The senior members of the Night Watch speculated that God might be counting the numbers, and after the statistics were completed, the rewards would naturally be distributed. Okay, Su Yu nodded. There is nothing you can do about it, just wait. By the way, there must be problems with the 2 people I arrested. When Sister Lin goes back, remember to take them back for interrogation. Su Yu spoke. Okay. Lin Zi nodded and left directly. Su Yu also left. He was going to be used as bait soon, and now he was going to dig for the treasure map. 10 minutes later, Su Yu arrived at his destination and immediately looked at it intently. In the past, the underworld was broken into countless fragments. One of the fragments fell here and formed a ghost monster, harboring 30 million evil spirits. No living person can stop here. Once he enters, he will definitely die. Looking at the golden writing, Su Yu's expression suddenly became extremely ugly. Grass. Playing with me. 30 million evil spirits. If this is released, not to mention Tianhe City, the whole of Daxia will be destroyed. Besides, this treasure map can only be rotten in your hands, otherwise, if it is sold to others and someone else digs it out, I will suffer too. What a sin. Is this something that humans can do? Su Yu was angry, but there was nothing he could do. Fortunately, I have many treasure maps. Let's change to another treasure map and continue digging. Soon, Su Yu calmed down and was no longer discouraged. 20 minutes later, Su Yu arrived outside the first people's hospital of the city. Here, it's overcrowded. Countless injured people were brought over, and there were queues outside the hospital. Su Yu couldn't get in at all. The next moment, Su Yu jumped into the air and flew directly in. Oh, King of War. Such a young war king. Who is this person? Outside the hospital, many people saw this scene and couldn't help but exclaimed. They couldn't help but be envious. I also want to become the King of War. One person suddenly became excited, took out a treasure map from his arms, and used it directly. A space emerged. A claw stretched out and crushed the man to death in an instant. The next moment, a humanoid creature walked out. It was 3 to 4 meters tall, covered with black hair, and had 4 eyes on its face. It smells so good. The humanoid creature grabbed the person who had been crushed to death and stuffed it directly into its mouth. Blood flowed down. Everyone spread out. Outside the hospital, a night watchman was patrolling. When he saw this scene, he immediately raised his voice and spoke. Several night watchmen rushed forward immediately. But in the blink of an eye, one of the night watchmen died in battle, and the rest were also knocked away. Su Yu, who had just entered the hospital, heard the noise, turned around instantly, and shouted, "Beast, you are seeking death." Boom! The black-yellow flame turned into a streak of fire, spread out instantly, and fell on the humanoid creature. Roar! The humanoid creature roared and struggled. Su Yu flew over, appeared above the humanoid creature, and stepped on it hard. The humanoid creature immediately fell to the ground, unable to struggle any longer. Xuanwang Yan kept burning him, but within a few seconds, his whole body was scorched black and lifeless. Seeing this scene, the people around him recovered from their panic. On the one hand, they envied Su Yu very much, but on the other hand, they were very afraid of digging for the treasure map. Digging for treasure maps is too risky. If you are not careful, everyone will be gone. When the time comes, the whole village will have a feast. Su Yu glanced at the dead night watchman, shook his head, and sighed. This is the duty of the night watchman. Walking on the edge of life and death every day. Su Yu re-entered the hospital, found his destination, and looked at it intently. In the past, there was a forbidden being who left behind a volume of the Book of Killing. Killing 10,000 people can make you a king, killing hundreds of millions of people can make you an emperor, and killing 30 billion people can make you an immortal. Golden writing emerged. Grass. Are you kidding me? I, Su Yu, am a night watchman, and my vocation is to protect my family, my country, and the common people. It's okay not to use this kind of technique. Su Yu looked ugly. Why do we have to kill people? Isn't it okay to kill others? For example, kill 100,000 zombies and 1 million poisonous insects. Pity. Su Yu shook his head and sighed, it was really a pity. Forget it, let's go next. Su Yu was about to leave when he suddenly thought that the fat man should still be in the hospital. After a while, Su Yu came toward 666. After seeing the fat man, Su Yu was shocked. We haven't seen each other for a few days, why is Fatty's injury more serious? Her head was wrapped in gauze, and her lower body was also wrapped in gauze. Fat man, what's wrong with you? Su Yu asked. Su Yu. Seeing Su Yu, the fat man was slightly startled, and immediately, a warm current flowed through his heart. Yesterday there were monsters everywhere, and I was chased by monsters. I thought I was going to die anyway, so I might as well try digging for a treasure map, maybe it could save my life. The fat man said truthfully. Who knew, a huge boulder was dug out, and I was directly pressed under it, and then I ended up like this. Later, a night watchman passed by and pulled me out and sent me to the hospital. Do you think it's easy for me? The fat man's eyes were red and he felt like he was about to cry. Don't be afraid, at least you're still alive, right? Su Yu comforted. The fat man was stunned for a moment, and then he seemed to have figured it out and said, You were right, at least I am still alive. The monster thought I was crushed to death and left, otherwise, I would really be dead. Having said this, the fat man was a little scared. Then, he looked at Su Yu and asked, By the way, are you here to buy the treasure map? No, I just came to see you. Su Yu said with a smile. The fat man was moved. Then he took out 10 treasure maps on his body and said, I don't want to dig for treasure maps now. Do you want them? I'll sell them all to you. Yes, of course. Su Yu grinned, took out his mobile phone, and quickly transferred 2 million to the fat man. After the fat man received the money, Su Yu took away 10 treasure maps. Take good care of yourself and I'll come see you again in a few days. Su Yu patted the fat man and then left. While walking, Su Yu looked at the 10 treasure maps. Hey, there is actually a treasure map that marks the location of the hospital. Su Yu did not hesitate and immediately headed to his destination. After arriving at the location, Su Yu looked intently, and suddenly, golden writing appeared. Tang monk suddenly suffered from hemorrhoids on his way to the west to obtain Buddhist scriptures. Later, a good doctor performed a hemorrhoid surgery on him. Here is the hemorrhoid discarded by Tang monk. After countless years, the power in the hemorrhoid has lost a lot, but it still has a very impressive the power of. Looking at the golden handwriting, Su Yu was stunned. If I remember correctly, Tang monk had eaten ginseng fruit, but because he was in mortal form at the time, he could not refine the ginseng fruit. Therefore, Tang monk became a ginseng fruit in human form, attracting countless monsters who wanted to eat him. Grass. Should I dig? I dug this out, can I eat it? Su Yu was extremely confused. Su Yu thought about it carefully and realized that he really couldn't eat this thing. Thinking about it, I feel sick, even disgusted. However, this is genuine Tang monk meat. Even though countless years have passed and the power in it has lost a lot, it still has some power. In those days, this power might have been very common, but it should be very helpful to me now. But, how to eat this thing? Ah, Su Yu was in pain, and then, madness appeared in his eyes. Whatever, just dig it out first. Even if you don't eat it, I can keep it. If I really can't eat it anymore, I'll sell it to the treasure map headquarters, right? This thing is definitely worth a lot of money. It shouldn't be a problem to exchange it for 1.8 million transcendent level treasure maps, right? Su Yu used the treasure map while thinking. A space emerged. Su Yu saw the floating hemorrhoids. Perhaps due to countless years, the hemorrhoids have dried up. There was no unpleasant smell as expected, but a light fruity aroma. Su Yu took out a tissue from his body and carefully wrapped the hemorrhoids. Is this really Tang monk meat? Su Yu looked at the hemorrhoids in his hand with hesitation in his eyes. Can you really live forever if you eat it? In addition to immortality, are there any other effects? Su Yu was ready to move and had the urge to swallow it. Forget it, let's keep it for now. Su Yu sighed, unable to get over the hurdle in his heart. Continue to the next one. Su Yu hurriedly left the hospital and spent 10 minutes rushing to the location marked on the next treasure map. It should be right here. Su Yu carefully compared the treasure map, and the location marked on it was right here. Su Yu immediately looked at it intently. Back then, when Monk Tang and his disciple Shishan were studying for scriptures, they saw a field of cucumbers from a distance. The cucumbers of the Daughter's Kingdom were grown here. Over the endless years, it had already evolved into a spiritual fruit, and the power contained in it was of great benefit to the monks. A huge benefit. Looking at the golden handwriting, Su Yu was stunned. Cucumber from the Daughter Country. and evolved into a spiritual fruit. Suddenly, Su Yu looked ecstatic. This is good stuff. He is only the Battle King rank 1 now. If he does not rely on treasures, he will be at the bottom among the Battle Kings. Since the cucumber has evolved into a spiritual fruit, if you eat it and increase your strength, you will have more protection when you use it as bait next time. Even if you use treasures, you can exert more powerful power. Dig. Must dig. Su Yu immediately used the treasure map, and immediately, a space appeared. A cucumber vine is swaying. On top, there is a cucumber, about 50 centimeters long, with a rough surface. Su Yu couldn't help but swallowed his saliva and quickly picked the cucumber. Just. One. Su Yu was startled, then shook his head. One is pretty good. Grass. Su Yu suddenly reacted. I have 200,000 yuan, so I dug a cucumber. Su Yu felt that he had suffered a big loss. And this cucumber vine, if I remember correctly, it seems to be a traditional Chinese medicine. Now that cucumbers have evolved into spiritual fruits, this cucumber vine should also be a spiritual plant, right? Su Yu thought, if I transplant it back, will I be able to continue growing cucumbers for me to eat next year? Ordinary cucumbers will be gone in a year. However, this is a spiritual plant, and it should not be gone for a year. Otherwise, there is no way to explain the cucumbers here. Su Yu's heart suddenly became hot, and he immediately and carefully transplanted the cucumber vine. The roots still carry some soil from the space. Holding the cucumber vine in his arms, Su Yu quickly ran home. When passing by, I bought a flower pot. After returning home, Su Yu rushed to the balcony and quickly planted the cucumber vine without even looking at the big black dog basking in the sun. I hope it can survive. Otherwise, it will be sold directly as Chinese medicine. Now, this thing is no longer ordinary Chinese medicine, it should be said to be spirit medicine. Su Yu's eyes were filled with anticipation, and then he washed his hands, washed the cucumbers as well, and then started to eat them. Delicious. I wish I could find the cucumber patch of the land of daughters. 1 acre of land can produce at least 3,000 cucumbers, right? Su Yu thought secretly, full of longing for the future. Click, click. Soon, Su Yu finished eating the cucumber and waited quietly for a while. Power was suddenly born in his body, and then rushed into the inner world and merged into the divine text with the word, war. Although the divine writings have been condensed, if you look closely, you will see that the divine writings are still a bit illusory, like a candle in the wind. If you are not careful, the divine writings will be extinguished and turned into nothingness. But now, as the power contained in the cucumber is integrated into the divine text, some of the strokes of the word, war, in the divine text immediately become solid. Am I the king of war rank 2? Su Yu secretly asked. The big black dog who was basking in the sun suddenly turned his head and glanced at Su Yu in surprise. Is this the king of war rank 2? So fast. Huh, no, what is this? The big black dog seemed to smell something and moved his nose. It seems to smell like meat, with a hint of ginseng fruit. Good stuff. The big black dog couldn't hold it back and drooled. It stood up and walked slowly towards Su Yu. When it arrived in front of Su Yu, the smell it smelled became stronger, and its saliva couldn't help but flow down. Isn't this Tang Monk's meat? Impossible. Tang Monk later became a Buddha, but the smell of meat does not smell like a Buddha. Or is this Tang Monk's meat before he became a Buddha? Is that legend true? I really want to eat. What should I do? Su Yu suddenly looked at the big black dog in surprise, and said with some disgust, your saliva has stained my floor. Remember to mop it up, otherwise, you won't be allowed in tomorrow. The big black dog nodded, turned around and entered the bathroom. Soon he stood up and mopped the floor with a mop in his arms. Su Yu. 6. Mop the floor well, I'm leaving. Su Yu stood up and walked out. Time is running out, he still has to dig for the treasure map. While waiting for the elevator, Su Yu heard constant push messages on his phone. He took it out and saw that they were all push messages from Toutiao. Congratulations to the human race. Congratulations to the great summer. A certain tomato reader dug up a dragon king after using a high-level treasure map. This reader cares about the tens of millions of people in Black Tortoise City and has cast a spell to receive the seawater in Black Tortoise City. Congratulations to the human race. Congratulations to Daxia. The night watchmen from all over the country have supported the Demon City and have driven out 100,000 zombies in the Demon City. Seeing this, Su Yu couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. He has been worried about Black Tortoise City and the Magic City. Fortunately, the crisis has been resolved. I just don't know what the casualties are this time. Su Yu sighed, fearing that there would be many casualties this time. He shook his head and continued to read the next news item. Congratulations to the human race. Congratulations to the great Shah. Citizen Zhu used the treasure map to dig out Zhu Shuzhou. At present, Zhu Shuzhou has killed the human restricted area. He is willing to clear the restricted area for mankind and protect all people in the world. Pig being clumsy. Su Yu frowned. This name sounded very familiar. Especially, this person's surname is Pig. In mythology, there seems to be only one person named Pig. Soon, Su Yu remembered that this Zhu Shuzhou had a terrifying background. When Zhu Baji left Gao Laozhuang, Gao Quilin was already pregnant. Zhu Baji had been practicing for 14 years, and Gao Quilin had been pregnant for 14 years. After Zhu Baji reached Zhongguo, Gao Quilin gave birth to a son, named Zhu Shuzhou. Later, Zhu Shuzhou received enlightenment from Tang Sanzong, became a disciple of half a verse, and went to the west again. Later, like Zhu Baji, Zhu Shuzhou was also named the messenger of the altar. The forbidden area for humans. The reason why it is a forbidden area for humans is because even the War Emperor cannot solve it. This Zhu Shuzhou was just dug out. Does he have a cultivation level above that of a War Emperor? Isn't this too scary? Grass. I wish I could clear a restricted area anytime. Su Yu was envious of his real name. Soon, the phone vibrated and another message was pushed. Congratulations to the human race. Congratulations to Daxia. The latest news is that Zhu Shuzhou has leveled Shenongjia, one of the restricted areas for humans, and is currently heading to the next restricted area. Su Yu was shocked. No one else has this speed. Of course, there may be a certain delay in the news being sent out. But no matter what, this Zhu Shuzhou is really terrifying. There is no more restricted area for human beings. If someone could dig out Zhu Shaoqiu 3 years ago, the situation of mankind would never be as passive as it is now, and there would be no forbidden zone for humans. More importantly, there would never have been that many people dying. Su Yu continued to slide his phone, and suddenly his eyes froze. Shocked, shocked, the whole world is shocked. Citizen Sun used the Transcendent Level treasure map to dig out the couplet on the gate of Wuzhuang Temple, the immortal palace of immortality, the Taoist family of the same life as heaven, on which Tao rhyme is extraordinary and has boundless power. Looking at the news on his mobile phone, Su Yu was a little shocked. Wuzhuang Temple, that is the dojo of Zhenyuan Immortal, the ancestor of Earth Immortal. The Taoist boy of Wuzhuang Temple once said to Tang Monk and his apprentice, Sanqing is my master's friend, the 4 emperors are my master's old friends, Zhu Yao is my master's junior, and Yuan Chen is my master's guest. This shows how terrifying the status and strength of immortal Zhenyuan are. And the couplets on the gate of Zhenyuan Daxian's dojo must be extraordinary. Su Yu was envious. Grass. Why can't I dig out something so good? Also, why are all mine treasure maps? How can I get the transcendent level treasure map? There is no transcendent level treasure map, an advanced treasure map will do. Su Yu felt uncomfortable, really uncomfortable. I worked so hard to dig up so many treasure maps, and finally, I got the Battle King rank 2. It wouldn't matter if I dug out a Rui Golden Cudgel, or I would dig out Guanyin in white, one of the 33 incarnations of Guanyin, but unfortunately, what I dig out is either fragments or fragments. A dog-headed guillotine was dug out. Although it is not a fragment, it is still incomplete. Su Yu felt uncomfortable and wanted to cry. At this time, the elevator came. Su Yu entered the elevator and continued to read the news. Congratulations to the human race. Congratulations to the great summer. Teacher Huang from the kindergarten used an advanced treasure map to dig in the garden, and dug out a willow tree thousands of meters high. The Tao rhyme on it is extraordinary, covering 3 provinces and benefiting countless people. The cultivation level has been greatly improved. Su Yu was sore. Tao rhyme covers 3 provinces, and the cultivation levels of countless people have improved. Why isn't this in Tianhe City? After getting out of the elevator, Su Yu's speed immediately increased. Along the way, the speed of cars passing by could not be compared to Su Yu's. Boom! Su Yu fell from the sky and landed in the ruins. He took out a treasure map and looked at it intently. In the past, a forbidden being refined 1,000,000,000 soul flags. Although it is incomplete, it still possesses supreme power. But now you cannot control it, and you may even encounter 10 of the soul flags. The backlash of billions of souls will eventually lead to death. Golden writing emerged. When Su Yu saw the previous prompt, his face lit up and he was excited. But after seeing the following prompts, his face suddenly fell. 1,000,000,000 soul flags, just listening to them makes me feel that I can easily clear the human restricted area. However, I am still unable to control 1,000,000,000 soul flags. Do you have to wait until you reach the War Emperor to dig? Well, let's wait a little longer. When I become the Queen of War, I'll see if I can dig it. What I have now is a treasure map. If this one doesn't work, just change it to the next one. Su Yu didn't hesitate anymore and left quickly, but just after taking 2 steps, there was a sudden strong wind behind his head. Boom! Su Yu felt a pain in his head, his vision went dark, and he fell to the ground. The big black dog came with a white bone stick in its mouth. The white bone stick disappeared and it grinned, revealing 2 rows of white teeth. Tang monk meat, you must be hungry, otherwise, you would have eaten it long ago. So, let me help you digest it. The big black dog sniffed Su Yu's body and quickly found Tang monk's meat wrapped in paper towels. It couldn't wait and swallowed the tissue directly. Don't worry, I won't eat your Tang monk meat in vain. I will repay you in the future. The big black dog muttered something, turned around and left quickly. From beginning to end, no one noticed. When Su Yu woke up, he was already at the night watch branch. Su Yu, are you awake? Lin Zi looked tired, but when she saw Su Yu woke up, she immediately smiled. She said, the night watchman was patrolling outside. When he saw you passed out, he sent you to the branch. Su Yu, feel for yourself, do you feel any discomfort? Su Yu touched his head and said, the back of my head hurts a little, and I have a bump, but it seems to be nothing. That's okay. Lin Zi felt relieved. Su Yu seemed to have thought of something and quickly rummaged around on his body. The mobile phone is here, the night watchman ID is also there, the treasure map is also there, everyone is missing. Suddenly, Su Yu's expression turned extremely ugly. Grass. Where are my hemorrhoids? On the side, Lin Zi's face was full of confusion. She said, what hemorrhoids? No one will perform hemorrhoid surgery for you. No. Su Yu's eyes were red, and his teeth were itching with hatred. He gritted his teeth and said, I dug out Tang monk's hemorrhoids. That was Tang monk's flesh, and it's gone now. I don't know which evil guy actually knocked on my sap, it's really a idiot. Don't let me know who you are, or I will beat you into a dog. So infuriating. How hateful. Su Yu swore that he would find that piece of shit. You actually dug out Tang monk's meat. Lin Zi was shocked, then took out her phone and operated it. Su Yu's phone vibrated, and a message was pushed. Shocked. The whole world is shocked. The night watchman Su dug out Tang monk's meat. But Su was hit with a sap, and Tang monk's meat disappeared. Su Yu looked at the news that had 5,000 likes in just a few seconds and fell into deep thought. Sister Lin, is it appropriate for you to do this? Su Yu was speechless. It doesn't matter if it's on the news, it's going to sound terrible if someone slaps you on the back. Su Yu, don't blame Captain Lin. At this time, Li Xiao walked in, looking a little tired, and he said, as for such news, it's okay if we don't know it. If we know it, we must send it out. Quote, we want people around the world to know that the arrival of myths is full of dangers, but also full of opportunities. Ordinary people dig up treasure maps and narrowly escape death. But if you become a warrior and dig up treasure maps again, the probability of death will be greatly reduced. Theoretically, we support more people to dig for treasure maps, so that everyone can become stronger and have the power to protect themselves. Su Yu was silent. But, how many people will die? 90% of people will die. Too dangerous. Okay, let's not talk about this for now. I came to see you for something. Li Xiaocha opened the topic and said with a serious look on his face, you asked Lin Zi to bring back the 2 people. After some coercion and inducement, they all confessed that they are indeed followers of the 7 Kills cult. At the same time, I got a very important news. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, there are thousands of people from the Seven Kills Church digging for treasure maps in different places. When Su Yu heard this, his expression changed. They are still digging. And there are thousands of people. Not bad. Li Xiao's eyes were bloodshot and he was very tired. Obviously, he didn't get any rest last night, so he was naturally very tired now. Minister, I have a question. Why are there so many dangers when they dig up treasure maps? Su Yu was very confused. You are stupid, Li Xiao explained. 90% of the things dug out of ordinary treasure maps are full of dangers. As long as they are dug at the same time, they will naturally be the same as yesterday. Also, I heard that someone in the Seven Kills cult dug up a tortoise shell, which can be used to predict the fortune of the treasure map. In this way, they will be more capable if they want to cause trouble. Su Yu was silent. The Seven Kills cult. It's really not a thing. Okay, let's get back to the topic. Li Xiao continued. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, once thousands of people dig up the treasure map at the same time, the crisis that Tianhe City will face will be even more terrifying than yesterday. So we can't let them continue digging for treasure maps. Currently, the only way is to let him be the bait in advance. So, we need you to be bait in advance. Su Yu was silent. The Seven Kills cult deserves to die, and so does Li Xiao. This is to kill yourself. When will the news be released? Su Yu asked. Around 1:30 in the afternoon. Li Xiao looked down at the time and said, there are still about 100 minutes left. It's too dangerous, I won't go. Upon hearing this, Su Yu immediately shook his head. I have too few treasures on my body and my cultivation level is poor. If I were to be used as bait, I wouldn't even know how I died. If you go now, I will give you 20 extra treasure maps. Li Xiao was not surprised at all and said directly. 50 pictures. Su Yu said. How about 30 pieces? Li Xiao said. For the people of Tianhe City, I, Su Yu, have my duty. Su Yu got out of bed, held his head high and said, it's still the old rule, give it to me first, and the reward you give me must be given to me tomorrow at the latest. No problem, Li Xiao said, took out 30 treasure maps out of thin air and handed them to Su Yu, saying, if we solve them, I won't give them to you tomorrow, I will give them to you tonight at the latest. By the way, when the time comes, not only will I give you the treasure map, but I will even give you a high-level treasure map. Advanced treasure map. Su Yu was shocked inside. The treasure map has been mined a lot, but the advanced treasure map has never been seen, let alone mined. Okay, Su Yu straightened his clothes and walked out. I'm going to dig up the treasure map first. When the news is released, the minister remembers to inform me in advance. After leaving the Night Watch branch, Su Yu carried a stack of treasure maps and started running crazily. Countdown, 100 minutes. Even less than 100 minutes. Su Yu naturally would not waste time on the road, but would increase his speed to the extreme. Boom. A minute later, Su Yu arrived at his destination. Su Yu has been here once before, and now, Su Yu is looking at it again. In the past, there was a forbidden being who left behind a volume of the Book of Killing. Killing 10,000 people can make you a king, killing hundreds of millions of people can make you an emperor, and killing 30 billion people can make you an immortal. The golden writing appeared again. The first time he saw the prompt, Su Yu refused. But when he thought that when he was used as bait, all the people from the Seven Kills cult would come to kill him, Su Yu knew that he could not refuse. There are some people in this world who deserve to be killed. Not only should they be killed, but they should be killed until their souls are scattered and their bodies and spirits are destroyed. People in the Seven Kills sect, from ordinary believers to high-ranking officials, are all people who deserve to be killed. Looking at the prompt, Su Yu immediately used the treasure map. A space emerged. Su Yu saw an ancient scripture floating inside, with 3 bloody characters written on it, the Sutra of Killing. When Su Yu saw the Book of Killings, his blood suddenly boiled. At the same time, in the sky above the whole world, the heaven and earth suddenly shook violently. Everyone, all creatures, raised their heads and looked in horror. Su Yu was naturally no exception. He opened his mouth wide and looked at the sky. A world appeared in the sky like a mirage. All beings can clearly see that in that world, there are countless terrifying powers flying into the sky and escaping to the earth, possessing the power to destroy the heaven and the earth. But at this moment, a vague figure suddenly descended on this world. Kill, 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 kill. A terrifying voice came from the blurry figure's mouth. As soon as the scene changed, countless creatures in that world died. Blood flowed into the sea, corpses piled up like mountains, and the mountains were hundreds of thousands of feet high. There is only one person standing on the mountain of corpses, with his back to everyone. At this moment, the whole world was silent, no one dared to speak, and everyone was trembling all over. That man turned his back to everyone, but gave everyone endless pressure. Even the war emperor is like this. Outside Tianhe City, the old Taoist raised his three ugly heads and looked at the sky, with strong fear in his eyes. Deep in his eyes, there was still a touch of excitement and excitement. He saw an immortal, and this might even be an existence beyond immortals. That back view was like the end of the road, making him feel that no matter how hard he tried, he could never reach that state. South China Sea Restricted Area. Zhu Shuzhou stood on an island and looked up at the sky. On all sides of it, there are terrifying sea creatures. Their size is more than 10 times that of normal marine creatures. There is even a flood dragon with an extremely terrifying aura in the distance. But right now, these sea creatures are all trembling. They look at the sky in horror, not daring to make the slightest move. Zhu Shuzhou did not clear the restricted area at this time, but looked up at the back, thoughtfully. I seem to have heard my father talk about him and mention his name. However, there are many taboos and they don't want the world to know their names. Without their consent, even if things about them are known, even if they have died in the battle, the world will also forget. Zhu Shuzhou murmured. Now, a vision of heaven and earth appears. Someone dug up something that contains extremely strong Dao rhyme. Even if he is dead, he may come back. In the Night Watchman family building community, the big black dog is also looking up at the sky. Another forbidden presence. The master seems to have mentioned him, but I don't remember. Finally, the strange phenomena in heaven and earth dissipated and everything returned to normal. However, in all existence, it is difficult to calm down. Grass. What did I dig up? How strong must you be to become a taboo existence? Su Yu was shocked inside. Suddenly, the Sutra of Killing turned into a beam of light, suddenly penetrated into Su Yu's body, and finally appeared in the inner world. In the inner world, Su Yu read the Sutra of Killing. The Sutra of Killing is automatically opened. Kill 10,000 people to become a king. You can become emperor by killing hundreds of millions of people. Kill 30 billion people and you can become an immortal. Killing 30 billion people can make you a demon. Kill 3,000 star domains and you can become the overlord of the universe. Kill 3,000 great worlds, but if the universe is destroyed, I will not be destroyed. Killing through a universe would be taboo. 7 lines of bloody characters were printed directly on Su Yu's mind. Every stroke is filled with endless killing intent. In an instant, Su Yu's eyes turned blood red and murderous intent surged into the sky. Suddenly, the fragments of white clothes in the inner world sensed this scene, vibrated gently, and transformed into the white-clothed Guanyin. There seemed to be a voice coming from his mouth, which gradually made Su Yu return to normal. However, the pieces of white clothes seemed to be more broken. Call. Su Yu took a deep breath, and then he realized that his whole body was soaked. After resting for 3 minutes, Su Yu couldn't help his curiosity and continued to look inside. This time, the 7 lines of bloody characters did not affect Su Yu anymore. Su Yu also saw that the colors of these 7 lines became brighter as they went further back. It seems that these 7 lines of words were not written on the same day. It seems that a long time has passed in between. The Book of Killing turned a page gently, and countless words, filled with murderous intent, were imprinted on Su Yu's soul. Suddenly, Su Yu felt something in his heart. The inner heaven and earth were shaking endlessly, and a divine inscription with the word, kill, quietly condensed out. Su Yu looked at the Book of Killing again, but this time, the Book of Killing no longer turned the pages. Su Yu understood that he was too weak. The content on the first page alone was enough for him to practice for a long time. With this volume of the Book of Killings, the 7 Killings cult, you all just wait to die. Murderous aura grew in Su Yu's eyes. Compared with before he obtained the killing book, Suyu is obviously much more murderous now. One volume of the Book of Killings is not enough, I have to continue digging for treasure maps. Not much time left. I have to speed up. Suyu immediately ran towards the distance, but in just 3 minutes, he appeared 10 kilometers away. Here, it is far away from the city center and the population is no longer so dense. After arriving at the destination, Suyu took out the treasure map, checked that there was no problem with the location, and then looked at it intently. In the past, the ginseng fruit tree was beaten to pieces, and one of the ginseng fruits fell here. In the endless years, it failed to take root and grow back into a new ginseng fruit tree, nor did it retain its own power. Now it is rotten. If you eat it, you will have diarrhea. Golden writing emerged. When he saw the front, Suyu was ecstatic, but when he saw the back, Suyu couldn't help but cursed. Grass. Can the ginseng fruit still go bad? After calming down, Suyu suddenly felt something in his heart and grinned, dig. I have to dig. I don't want the 200,000 yuan anymore. I'll dig it out for the big black dog to eat. Suddenly, a space appeared, and Suyu saw the ginseng fruit. Grass. It's really broken. Suyu wrapped the ginseng fruit in a tissue, took it with him, and continued to the next location. After arriving at the place, Suyu looked intently again. There's nothing here. Golden writing emerged. What surprised Suyu was that the prompt this time was very short. What was even more surprising was that there was nothing here. It does not matter. This treasure map is not dangerous and can be sold to Captain Lei Gang Lei. Then, buy another treasure map. Suyu was not worried at all and left quickly to his next destination. There is a Buddhist gate rule here. Once it is released, it will forcefully shave you and improve your cultivation. Remember, after being forcibly shaved by it, your hair will not grow back. Looking at the golden handwriting, Suyu couldn't help but curse. Is this a forced transfer of people? So wicked. I don't want to be a monk. Suyu curled his lips and thought, but I can sell it to Captain Lei Gang. Anyway, he has no hair. It's hard to tell whether he's shaved or not. 200,000, Captain Lei is a bargain. Suyu felt that Lei Gang had made a lot of money this time, and he only spent 200,000 to improve his strength. If it weren't for the hair not growing back after being shaved, where would it be Lei Gang's turn? I have been digging for treasure maps in the city center, and I have accumulated a lot of treasure maps that are not in the city center. I might as well dig them all now. Suyu took action quickly and ran away from the city center. After 3 kilometers, Suyu stopped. After confirming that the location was correct, he looked at it intently. In the past, there was someone who had been floating in the starry sky for 300,000 years. On the day of enlightenment, he chopped up 30 million stars with one knife. On the stars, countless ancient beings were all destroyed in form and spirit, and no one survived. Here, there is a knife left. After several generations, it is now on the verge of collapse, but it is still of great benefit to you. Looking at the golden writing, Suyu was ecstatic. The stars have been floating in the sky for 300,000 years, which is very powerful when you hear it. This shows that this existence has lived for at least 300,000 years. With one sword, 30 million stars were chopped into pieces, and countless ancient beings on the stars were all destroyed physically and mentally. Isn't this too powerful? Grass. Must dig. I want this knife intention. Suyu immediately used the treasure map and opened the space corresponding to the treasure map. In the space, sword energy is everywhere. The moment it emerged in the space, the sword energy instantly turned into a peerless magic sword and slashed towards Suyu. At this moment, Suyu's whole body was stiff and unable to move at all. Even thinking seemed to have stopped. You're not going to die, are you? Suyu was shocked. At the same time, Suyu's eyes flashed. He looked up and saw that he was actually in the starry sky. Ahead, a meteorite floats. Suddenly, the meteorite cracked open, revealing a figure inside. Haha, today, the truth is fulfilled. Suddenly, a voice came from his mouth. Suyu was very surprised. He shouldn't have heard the sound here, but he heard it. Here comes the knife. The man stepped on the starry sky and stretched out his right hand. Suyu saw that far away, there was a galaxy, shining brightly in the starry sky. At this moment, the galaxy shook and turned into a peerless magic sword, falling into its hands. Back then, you killed 30 million of my human clan sons. Today, I will destroy 30 million of your stars. If you are not convinced, come to my human race's ancestral star for a fight. Boom! A flash of sword light reflected the starry sky, crossing the star domain and slashing down with a bang. Far away, 30 million stars were shattered one after another. There were countless ancient beings on it. At this moment, they roared in fear, and their figures rushed out of the stars, trying to escape into the starry sky. However, when the light of the sword struck, before they were completely close to them, they could no longer withstand the sword. Each figure quickly turned into powder, and then their body and soul were destroyed. From a more distant place, it seems that an extremely terrifying existence is coming across the starry sky. Su Yu was about to take a closer look, but found that the picture in front of him was broken. For some reason, Su Yu felt a little regretful that he could not see the next scene. Moreover, there seems to be no vision of heaven and earth. Perhaps, this sword energy is about to collapse, and the Tao rhyme on it has almost disappeared. In the inner world, a blade of sword energy emerged, vibrating inside. Suddenly, the saber energy collapsed and turned into a divine inscription with the word, sword. Whether it was the divine text with the word, kill, or the word, knife, it gave Su Yu a very powerful feeling. At least, it is more powerful than the divine text with the word, war. Grass. What a big loss. Su Yu suddenly thought, if I had come here earlier to dig up the treasure map, wouldn't I be directly promoted from an ordinary person to a king of war? Forget it, it's not bad now. Su Yu was in a good mood and stopped thinking about it. It took 10 minutes for Su Yu to arrive at the next location, ready to continue digging for the treasure map. After arriving at the location, Su Yu couldn't help but complain. There were a lot of animal feces here and the stench was overwhelming. It is very possible that there are extremely scary creatures roaming here. If the treasure map didn't require digging at a designated location, I wouldn't come here. Su Yu was helpless and had to hold his breath. The treasure map is like a key. If you want to dig the treasure map, you must go to the designated location and pass the treasure map to open the space. Without a treasure map, even if you know the specific location, you can't dig it out. Su Yu looked attentively. There's just a plain wooden box here. Looking at the golden writing, Su Yu was stunned for a moment, and then sighed. Captain Lei is so lucky to be able to spend 200,000 yuan to buy a treasure map. Su Yu immediately turned around and left. After today's incident is over, sell this treasure map to Captain Lei. It's not bad to dig out a box to put things in. Suddenly, Su Yu's phone rang. An unknown number. Su Yu frowned and pressed the answer button. Su Yu, the situation has changed. Return to the branch immediately. Li Xiao's voice came. Okay. Su Yu hung up the phone and looked at the time. Only an hour had passed, and there were still 30 or 40 minutes left. But since Li Xiao called, Su Yu had no choice but to give up digging for the treasure map temporarily and rush back quickly. After seeing Li Xiao, Su Yu immediately asked, Minister, why has the situation changed? Did you see the vision of heaven and earth at that time? Li Xiao asked. I saw it. Su Yu naturally knew that it was a vision of digging out the slaughter book. This vision is not localized. According to the information we have received, the vision covers the entire world. Li Xiao said solemnly, I don't know who dug it out. Now, things are in trouble. According to the information I received, the people of the Seven Kills sect have gone crazy. They think the vision is related to the Seven Kills monument. Now, they have many war emperors on their way. So, our plans have to be moved forward, we don't have to wait any longer. Now, then you have to pay more. Su Yu curled his lips, very dissatisfied. Planning ahead also means more danger. I'll give you 20 more treasure maps. Li Xiao didn't hesitate and directly took out 20 treasure maps to Su Yu. Su Yu quickly put away the treasure map and said, Give me another knife, I want a better knife. When Lin Zi next to him heard this, his eyes suddenly brightened and he asked, Su Yu, have you condensed the divine inscription with the word, sword? She has not equipped Su Yu with weapons. She is just waiting for Su Yu to condense the corresponding divine inscriptions before giving Su Yu a good weapon. If it is equipped in advance, it may affect the comprehension of the divine text. If it is someone else, forget it. If you equip it in advance, it will have little impact. But Su Yu, in her eyes, as long as he didn't die young, he would be able to do great things in the future. Naturally, such people cannot have any influence, and everything must be as perfect as possible. Not bad. Su Yu nodded. Okay, here's the knife for you. Lindsay stretched out her hand, and a sword appeared. She handed it to Su Yu. She said, "This is a sword I dug out. The quality is super high, and it is not what the current technology can do." Made. Thank you, Sister Lin. Su Yu was also polite. When he saw the knife for the first time, he thought it must be very good. It's okay, it's okay. When you get rich in the future, just don't forget Sister Lin. Lindsay said with a smile. Okay, we'll talk about this later. Li Xiao looked down at the time, interrupted the two of them, and said, Su Yu, do you have any more questions? If not, I'm going to start planning. No more. Su Yu shook his head. Okay. Li Xiao nodded, pressed the Secret Service earpiece, and said, the plan begins. Su Yu watched quietly. Suddenly, there was a boom, and the entire Tianhe city shook. An extremely terrifying aura came from the north of Tianhe city. At this moment, a piercing siren suddenly sounded throughout the city, and everyone was alerted. Grass. Minister, what are you doing? Is this your plan? Su Yu scolded her. I didn't do anything, I just had someone dig up a unique and dangerous creature. Li Xiao whispered something, and the next moment, his figure appeared in the sky above Tianhe city, looking towards the north with a livid face. All night watchmen gather. Go north immediately to attack the enemy, and must not let the enemy enter the city. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.